There I am. Oh, yeah, you can tell my eyes are really red. It's the middle of the night. 2:21 a.m. on the East Coast in Augusta, Georgia. Yeah, my eyes are a little red, aren't they? A little tired, a little strained. Yeah, I haven't slept or anything. I'm just determined to do this. I just realized there's no hearing on Monday, and I was kind of excited to think, if I got this done, if I streamed this manifesto by 11:59, actually tonight, because it's already Sunday, I was telling David, he needs to rip off that mask and reveal his true identity. Bryan has to do that and reveal his true identity, which is David Wayne Craig, who I also believe is the true identity of Elliot Rodger. Compare. Eyebrows a little higher, higher on, but same bone structure. It's just put a little higher, same shape eyes, even though he's half Asian, well, Chinese. Different teeth, fuller lips, similar chins, however. Look at how similar those chins are. The lip is lowered down, so there's less distance. If you lowered this lip, there'd be a similar distance. Obviously, David is thinner these days than he was. This is a picture of him in 1994 after he buried the murder weapon atop Mount Whitney in 1994. Yes, David is the real OJ. He is the real Elliot Rodger, and he is the real Bryan Kohberger. All right, we'll just put these guys down here. They can watch while we read the rest of this manifesto. I really want to get this done. I really want to get it done. Let's do this, okay? My name is Claire Elliot, by the way. I forget to introduce myself. I am really, truly, it's not a joke, I really am the Zodiac killer's daughter. I know a lot of people have come forward claiming that they are. I mean, I guess there was one other woman. My father was living at the time she came forward, but he has since died. And, I had dreamt my whole life of justice, but my father is, I guess his mission is to remain a mythological-like figure. It is the real OJ. Right here. Oops. Okay, well, I can just do this. The real OJ right here. Who is meant to be brought to justice. It's a disappointment that I wanted to bring them both to justice, but because I'm classified and our government refuses to declassify me, even though I was illegally labeled a threat to national security when I was 9 years old, home alone, age 9. And that's why I don't have a life, I don't have my money, nothing. Okay, I'm not going to talk too much about me. Okay, I'm going to get started. And yes, I will talk about what, I really do believe that this is David's writing. And I really do believe that he wrote this to help cue me on what to speak about, because he can't speak freely like I can. He has a security clearance. I don't. I'm the only one who can speak clearly about all of these things. It's my life. And I legally obtained this information because, and if I could remember it, then I'm legally allowed to speak freely. I'm the only one who can. So I must. Okay. 15 years old. We have he died at 22. So is that 7 more years? We have 7 more years of his short life to go through, plus the epilogue, okay? We're on page 48 of, it's not really 141 pages, it's 137 pages. And I can't believe how slow it's gone, because I'm talking so much. Well, I'm supposed to talk about the things it brings up for me. It's the way I'm positively identifying myself. I really don't know what they always want me to talk about. I've talked about this stuff for years. It's a lot of it, but I guess they're gauging how I'm talking about it. I don't know. There's been some confusion over me being an imposter, I guess. I don't know. They think there's another Claire Elliot. I don't know. I think it's my twin, my identical twin, who does not look anything like me. She intentionally changes her appearance. I believe it's my twin that has confused everybody in her efforts to steal my identity, I guess. Yeah, she's trying to make it look like I'm the wrong Claire Elliot or something. That's what I believe. I don't know. I have no confirmation of that. I just really believe it. I really believe that's why she has so radically changed her appearance. It's not... It's not to look like I used to look in any way, shape, or form. I mean, she doesn't even look like I used to look either. I don't know. I mean, I used to have tan skin like her. I used to have almost platinum hair, but she looks nothing like I used to look. I at this time, we're both 57 right now. She has plucked her eyebrows to oblivion, and that radically changes her appearance. We have very prominent eyebrows naturally. The darker skin, lighter hair, no eyebrows, she's lost a lot of weight. She used to be the heavier one. I believe I'm the heavier one now. It's funny, but she also has, when I was, I know I'm talking about myself now, and I'm not reading, but I have to speak about this. When I was going out with David, actually, it was in December of 1993. I had 2 infected lymph nodes on my neck, and they didn't know what it was. They didn't know. I mean, at least that's what they claimed. They didn't know what the lumps on my neck were. I guess I didn't have any money. I had no insurance. I had to go through the county. And I mean, they looked at my thyroid. There was nothing wrong with it. I guess they had to see where it was, so as to not, I don't know, I guess they needed to map out my thyroid. It looked like a butterfly, I remember. And and then they had to they opened up my neck to discover 2 infected lymph nodes. I would think they would have been able to know what they were, that they were infected lymph nodes. They weren't. It's really wild, but I don't know. I'm like a strange breed, okay? I don't know. I mean, this is I'm kind of embarrassed about this, but this is how Larry Shaw got away with labeling me a threat to national security. You know, I'm a human being just like anyone else, but he I don't know. I guess they were talking about how I was some kind of alien breed or something. I have something in my neck. I don't know, because I'm so embarrassed. They removed some embryos from my neck. I know that sounds really weird. But I guess I don't know how it happened. I don't know how I had embryos in my neck. I conceived somehow naturally. I had embryos in my neck, and I had these lumps too. And, you know, obviously, you know, semen was there. And I had a boyfriend who later died in a car accident in high school. He wasn't really a boyfriend. I mean, we never really got to go out together the way, you know, like I told you, I had to go to other high schools to find decent boyfriends. I mean, I had to search, you know, I had to meet guys at other high schools, is what I'm saying, to get a decent boyfriend, because, you know, too many things happen with my classmates at Princeton High School. But yeah, that's what they removed from my neck, 2 embryos. I know it sounds really weird, and it's kind of embarrassing. And I believe one of them is my child with this guy who died in a car accident. And possibly another boyfriend from high school. The Jewish one. I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but I think that's what I was told, if I'm not mistaken. But they told me I had cat scratch disease. I had 2 cats, and I had a scratch on my arm, and they said, oh, you got cat scratch disease. And I'm like, well, couldn't you have told me that before you opened up my neck? But in the process, the reason I'm going into this is because they were so proud to inform me that they had removed a lot of fat from my neck. And I'm like, great. Now I have like a stringy neck at age 20. What was it? How old was I in 93? I think I was 20. No, it was December. So I was already 28. And you know, I had a smooth neck before they performed the surgery. You can see the little line here. And it's funny. I'm always an experiment. They didn't tell me this, but you know, I see there's one half that they injected with steroid, and one half they left natural. And you can tell one side is slightly like better, you know, like you can see the scar a little better on one side, and that was the side they didn't inject steroids with. I think this is, wait, isn't it this side that looks smoother? That's the steroid side, and this is the side that they didn't touch. They didn't tell me that. I mean, I remember them injecting it in one half and not telling me what they were doing, that it was one half only. I could just tell they only injected one half. And then if you look at it, you can see there's a slight difference. It's slight though, right? Slight. My scar, I heal well. I'm just always an experiment. I'm so tired of being an experiment. I just want to have a life, you know? I'm not a mouse. Well, poor mice. I feel sorry that they're used in experiments, or hamsters, or whatever they use. It makes me sad, you know? I think it's cruel and inhumane, you know? I'm a human, and I can't imagine what a little mouse goes through being experimented upon like that too. Dean, I'm live, okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let me continue reading. Yeah, that's kind of embarrassing. And I know it's not human sounding, but I am a human being. A very resilient, rare human being. All right, 15 years old. Toxic is the word that describes my first day of 10th grade at Taft High School. Toxic. Hey, like Britney Spears' album, right? Or song. It was a toxic nightmare. Every single second of it was agony. I continued to beg my parents to not make me go, but it was to no avail. My father drove me there, and I didn't want to get out of his car. He almost had to drag me out. That's really sad. There's when your son is acting like that, you need to get him some help right now, and you need to listen to what he's saying. Instead of forcing him to go with the program. We live in a horrible world, and when you're hypersensitive, you're highly intelligent. Sensitivity is a form, I don't want to say a form of intelligence. It's actually part of intelligence. And if you lack sensitivity, you lack intelligence, okay? And obviously they had a very highly intelligent boy, and they just wanted him to dumb himself down and just go with the program. And it was very insensitive of, it sounds like especially his father. His father was very insensitive. He lacked the intelligence that his son exhibited. Intelligence is passed on through the mother. I don't know the specifics, if the real Elliot RODGER'S was actually the biological son of the mother that gave birth to him, the mother he grew up with, but she sounds like a very highly evolved woman. And I wouldn't be surprised. She's very sensitive, thoughtful, always trying to help, a really good mother. It sounds like. And she had a lot of guy friends in high places, and it sounds like she was very charming and interesting. So, it's the woman. Of course, EQ is where I believe you get your sensitivity from. Okay, so I guess IQ is not EQ, and that's sensitivity, right? Emotions. And that would have to come from the father, the EQ. And yeah. So it sounds like maybe he had more than one father, and a different father, or if his father is one of the fathers, he would have to be just one of the fathers, because his son is far more sensitive than he is. So clearly there's other fathers involved. EQ only really comes from the father, and that's what sensitivity is, now that I'm thinking about it. So yeah, it's IQ that's passed on through the mother, and yeah, sensitivity is a form of intelligence, but it's emotional intelligence. So and that is passed along through the father. Okay, so Dean, why are you walking through? You don't need, here, I'll take care of that. You want to go in there? Okay. Okay, so, yeah, it just sounds like, you know, his sensitivity was not respected and honored. It was probably misunderstood, and as a result, he didn't get the help he needed. I mean, the support he needed. I think his mother was very supportive, especially his mother, but he obviously needed professional help to cope with this world. This world is a horrible world for people who are highly intelligent. When you're highly intelligent, you're very aware of everything. You feel everything. You know, if you don't feel anything, you lack intelligence. Okay, so my father drove me there. I didn't want to get out of the car. He almost had to drag me out. I somehow found the will to put one foot in front of the other and walk towards that awful, ugly front building. The first week of Taft was living hell. Wow. I was bullied several times, even though I didn't know anyone there. It's kind of like he brought that energy in with him, you know, just expecting it, you know. It was almost like he was inviting it. You know, when your mind is highly active and you do stuff like that without even realizing it. He had a very powerful mind, and he created a disaster for himself with his mind. He needed someone to help guide him. He needed a professional. I don't know why his parents didn't hire a get a therapist for him. Just a therapist. I mean, we're not talking psychiatrist. We're just talking therapy. That's what he needed. At least therapy. I mean, I don't know. He might have needed more, but, you know, it starts with therapy, I would think. Okay. After being so used to wearing a polo shirt with khaki pants as a school uniform at private schools, I continued to dress like that even after leaving Crespi. I didn't give any thought to how nerdy I looked. I was too withdrawn, like a turtle tucked into a shell. I was still in the process of going through puberty at the time, so I still looked and sounded like a 10-year-old. Such a persona, alternate personas, such a persona attracted zero attention from girls, of course, but it did attract bullies like moths to a flame. I was completely and utterly alone. No one knew me or extended a hand to help me. I was an innocent, scared little boy trapped in a jungle full of malicious predators, and I was shown no mercy. Some boys randomly pushed me against the lockers as they walked past me in the hall. One boy, who was tall and had blonde hair, called me a loser right in front of his girlfriends. Yes, he had girls with him, pretty girls, and they didn't seem to mind that he was such an evil bastard. Stupid girls. In fact, I bet they liked him for it. This is how girls are, and I was starting to realize it. That's not how girls are. Not all girls. Stupid girls. Not all girls. You need a smart girl because you're smart. This was what truly opened my eyes to how brutal the world is. The most meanest, depraved of men come out on top, and women flock to these men. That's not how it works for everyone. Their evil acts are rewarded by women, while the good, decent men are laughed at. It is sick, twisted, and wrong in every way. I hated the girls even more than the bullies because of this. The sheer cruelty of the world around me was so intense that I will never recover from the mental scars. Any experience I ever had before never traumatized me as much as this. That's really sad. I couldn't do it anymore. On the morning before the second week of Taft started, I broke down and cried in front of my mother, begging her not to make me go to that horrible place. I was so scared that I felt physically sick. I continued crying in the car on the way there, and my mother gave in. Instead of taking me to school, we went to the cafe at Gelson's in Calabasas, where we had a big talk. I tried to explain how much I was suffering there. She just could not take me to school after that. When we were finished with Gelson's, she drove me to my father's house and told him what had happened. About what happened. Told him about what happened. They agreed to take me out of Taft. Thank goodness. I didn't go to school for a month while my parents decided what to do with me. I took advantage of the time to rest and recover at home, playing my online games. The pain and suffering I had to endure at Taft was all over. But the scars would remain. You were there for 1 week. It's okay. You're not going back. What is the problem? I tried to forget about it as much as I could. I took a deep breath and relaxed. Good, I'm glad. After a month of recovery, my parents took me to look at 2 continuation high schools, which operate like homeschooling because you only spend 3 hours a day there and do the rest of the work at home. That sounds pretty good. One of them was right next to El Camino High School. I was born at El Camino Hospital in Mountain View, California. Ha ha ha. The other one was in Van Nuys. My parents preferred the one in Van Nuys because they felt it was more structured and organized. It was called Independence High School, and they decided to send me there. Independence was a very small school with only 3 buildings and 100 students. Okay. The teachers were all very nice and understanding, and it had a relaxed and calm environment. I figured this was the best option for me. A week later, I started going to Independence High School. I didn't like any of the students there, as they were all slobs. Slobs. Okay, well, don't you think that's an improvement? They were all slobs with the exception of 2 or 3 boys. This wasn't a major concern because I didn't care about having a social life at that point, right? All I wanted to do was hide away from the cruel world by playing my online games, and Independence High School gave me the perfect opportunity to do just that. I only had to be at school for 3 or 4 hours per day, and all of the work was very easy with teachers available to help me with anything. After those short school hours, I had all the time in the world to do whatever I wanted, and I spent it playing World of Warcraft. Okay. One drawback was that I had to take the bus to school because my parents couldn't pick me up at such an early time of day. Though it was embarrassing, I didn't care about appearances anymore, so I didn't make a big deal out of it. Why was it embarrassing? Oh, you mean the city bus. He had to take the city bus? Okay. I took the city bus to my school in Princeton, New Jersey every day. I mean, unless I couldn't walk. Walking would take too long. I sometimes rode my bicycle. I didn't have, I got my car after I dropped out so I could go to community college in Trenton. Yeah, so I never drove unless I drove my father's car. I think I might have once or twice or something, but okay, so he's talking about the city bus. I mean, that was how I got around. I mean, what's wrong with that? This was the perfect setup. You know, the city bus stopped right at our driveway. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's the most convenient way to get somewhere. This was the perfect setup for a World of Warcraft addict. Yeah. Yeah. After school, every day, I fully indulged myself in my addiction to World of Warcraft. My only social interaction was with my online friends and with James, who would occasionally come over to my house to play World of Warcraft with me. My father's career as a commercial director hadn't been as successful as it was a couple years before. He foolishly decided to invest all of his money in his first feature film, a documentary named Oh My God. I'll have to look that up. In the film, he would interview various people about their opinions on religion and God. To make it, he took off to travel all over the world for a few months. Despite this, the one week arrangement remained, and during Father's Week, I had to stay at Father's house with only Sumaya. That's not cool. This frustrated me tremendously because Sumaya has always been a pain to live with, and she would obstruct my time on World of Warcraft. But you say you're an addict. Maybe it was healthy that she interrupted and obstructed your time. I don't know. I was hopeful about Father's movie, however. He kept talking about how he will become very rich from it, and I fostered a hope that he would become rich. How naive I was. The movie would only bankrupt him in the future. On top of this, I had to deal with another change at Father's house that angered me to no end. I had to give up my lovely, huge, and luxurious downstairs room. What happened? It was all because baby Jazz got a new nanny. Once again, Jazz's existence caused me to lose my room at Father's house. This time, Father made my room into his new office. He split his old office into 2 bedrooms, in which I got one of them and the nanny got the other. So he made that his office, a very spacious office, it sounds like. And he split his old office into 2 bedrooms, in which he got one of them. My new room was much smaller, and it didn't have its own bathroom. My downstairs room was the best part of being at Father's house, and it was all gone. Why couldn't he have made the other bedroom? You know, he split his old office into 2 bedrooms. Why didn't he make one of those bedrooms his office? I mean, did he have to have a spacious office? Wasn't his son more important than his stupid office? I mean, he just needs a place for his desk, right? His computer, whatever. You don't need a spacious office. He didn't do business out of his house, did he? I mean, maybe he did. I don't know. I mean, but do you really need a big office? I mean, you just need a place for someone to sit. You need a desk, your computer, whatever. Some art on the walls. I mean, sounds like his father was kind of full of himself. I don't know. I don't think he was very in touch with anything his son needed. That's very sad. My new room, yeah, okay. So I started to really hate going there, he says. Okay. Father came back shortly for the winter break before taking off again. A new expansion for World of Warcraft called The Burning Crusade came out in the beginning of January. Okay, so by now he's 15. He's in his sophomore year of high school. Right? Yeah. I was extremely excited for this expansion. It added many new features to the game, new areas to explore, and raised the level cap to 70. It was like a whole new World of Warcraft game. I asked my father to buy it for me as a Christmas present. I can still remember the intense anticipation I felt as I installed it onto my laptop. I decided to transfer my World of Warcraft character to the same server as James so that we could play together online and level up our characters in the new expansion. Through doing this, I met two of James's friends from his school who also played on his server. They were two brothers named Steve and Mark. Steve is our age and Mark is a couple years older. Me, James, Steve, and Mark. My brother's name is Mark. My uncle was named Steve. There's no James in my family. Would then always play together online as a group. I found them quite fun to play the game with, and it was nice to have some friends to play World of Warcraft with on a regular basis. Eventually, Steve and Mark decided to make new characters on a PvP server, which had play settings that were more to my liking. I chose to make a new character with them. I made a blood elf character that I leveled up very fast, and this became my main character in the game. James stayed on his old server for a while, but within a few weeks, we persuaded him to join us on the new one. I had heated conflicts with Sumaya during every week that I was at Father's house. All I wanted to do was play World of Warcraft, and Sumaya strictly limited my playtime because my new room was just across from hers. Okay, so it was across from his parents' bedroom. She knew what I was doing at every single second. She was breathing down my neck the whole time. She kept making me do chores around the house. I despised doing work around the house, especially since we had a nanny who was supposed to do it. If I made a scene about doing the work, she took my laptop for a day or two. This was the most horrible thing she could do to me, to take away my only source of joy left in the world. She sometimes did it even when Father was at home, and Father didn't lift a finger to stop her. My first year at Independence High School came to an end very quickly. Really? Oh, okay, because he was having a good time. Nothing eventful really happened there, and I barely interacted with anyone, okay? I would just go there for my required time, do my work, and go home. I was too absorbed in my game to care about anything else. Okay. At Father's house, in the beginning of the summer, I was introduced to someone I would hate for a very long time. Leo Bubenheim. Isn't he part of that family? Alex Bubenheim married a German woman named Karina, who had just moved to the U.S. with her two kids, Leo and Paulina, who became Alex's stepchildren. They would then always come over as a family. Leo was 12 years old and Paulina was a year younger than me. Okay, so he's 15, she's 14. My fear of girls made me keep my distance from Paulina. She was a total bitch anyway, and her attitude would only get worse. She is a true representative of everything I hate about women. When I first met Leo, I didn't think much of him. He was only 12 years old. I just thought of him as Luca's new older brother. Oh, Lucas's new older brother. I had no inkling of how much I will envy and hate him later on. Soon enough, my jealousy of Leo began to manifest. He had just moved to the U.S. from Germany, and yet he was already able to make lots of friends and had a great social life. He was tall, good-looking, blonde-haired, and a skateboarder, the type of person I've always envied and wanted to be. Me, my father, and the Bubenheims all went on a camping trip to Big Bear. It was just the boys. We drove deep into the wilderness in my father's big, formidable Lexus SUV. After setting up our tents, we built a nice fire to gather around and tell stories. It was quite fun, and it made for a small respite from my lonely life, though I had to suffer the presence of Leo and deal with my jealousy of him. Hey, I just want to look something up. Let's see. Let me look this up. How to pronounce respite. This is like the second or more time he has used this word. Respite. Respite?
Respite.
Respite. It's respite. There's a, and it is spit. It's not spite. Okay, so it's respite.
Respite.
Okay. Respite. Okay. Yeah, nursing uses that word too. All right. Though I had to suffer the... Okay, so it was quite fun, and it made for a small respite from my lonely life, though I had to suffer the presence of Leo and deal with my jealousy of him. One time during the trip, my father made me take Leo and Lucas out exploring. The three of us covered a lot of ground, and I tried to act tough in front of them by slashing my knife at any plant that got in our way. The 4th of July of this year was the day I saved my little brother's life from drowning. I went with my family to Aunt Jay and Gary Twins' house, as they always had a 4th of July party. The Bubenheims were there, including Leo and Paulina. So was Vincent Twin, who had grown up quite fast. The last time I saw him, he was a little kid who looked up to me when I showed him all of my computer games. Now he was just becoming a teenager with an interest in skateboarding. The party was a pool party, and my brother Jazz had full exposure to the swimming pool. He had already learned how to walk, but he couldn't swim. At one instant, as I was eating lunch, I saw Jazz quickly run off from the adults, completely unattended. I then watched as he curiously examined the water and then descended into the steps at the shallow end of the pool. Before long, he lost his footing on the steps and his whole body sank into the water. Nobody noticed. He was going to drown, I thought with panic. I ran as fast as I could, plunged into the water with my clothes still on, and pulled him out. I asked him how he was doing, and he coughed up some water and told me he felt fine. The only person who saw this happen was a little girl who was swimming in the shallow end. I saved his life, and my brother remembers it to this very day. That's nice. Every single second of my brother's life, everything that happens to him in the future will exist because I pulled him out of the water that day. Okay. I need to take a moment and attend to Elizabeth. Hold, please. I won't be long. Thanks. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for your patience. All right. All right, so where was I? Okay, so yeah. He saved his younger brother's life. Okay, I celebrated my 16th birthday at Mother's house. She bought me an Xbox 360. Boy, how many of these consoles do you need? Which had just been released. I didn't play it yet, though, because the only game I wanted for it was Halo 3, which was set to come out in November. I was really looking forward to that game. It was supposed to be the best Halo game of all time. After I blew out my candles, I remember going outside and sitting by my mother's pool to contemplate my life. 16, what an age to be. Yeah, I remember 16. That was the first time I tried pot. I was in the back seat of my friend's car, and in the back seat was a guy who in modern day life has, in recent years, has denied being in the back seat, offering me what do you call them? A joint? I had never smoked pot before, and on my 16th birthday, on my way home, some guy drove me home, and I smoked my first joint. It didn't do anything for me. Didn't feel it at all. I don't know. Pot just doesn't do anything for me. That's why I never really I never did very much of anything, drug wise. So I did experiment with drinking too, but didn't do very much of that either. It was my brother who became the alcoholic. It was my brother who became the drug addict, like my mother. And my father, for that matter. Okay. Most teenagers will start driving at this age. I couldn't even fathom myself driving. The thought of it scared me. Yeah, I started to drive at this age. I guess you have a provisional driving license. What is it? A learner's permit? Right. Yeah, and you had to drive with an adult in the car, and then you turn, is it 17? I think it was, I don't know. Was it 17? That you can drive by yourself. I think that was how it worked back then. I don't know how it works now. So he was very scared to drive. I was excited to drive. I couldn't wait to drive. But I didn't know how to drive a stick until I convinced. That's a whole other story. I don't know. Should I get into it? I'll make it brief. I really wanted a car because I was, going to Trenton, and my father, I always drove my father's car, but, I was living with him at that point. I'm talking like the beginning of what would have been my senior year. Well, halfway through it, kind of. I was about to go to Mercer County Community College in Trenton, and I couldn't get there. I had to drive there. I mean, I think I took the bus and stuff prior to having a car, but I really wanted a car, and I convinced my father to allow me to use. He gave me I convinced him to start looking for a car, and we found one that was the right price, and they lowered it when they met my father because he was their boss. And I was so grateful. I had gotten $500 from him for Christmas, and I offered to give all my $500 back, to contribute towards the purchase of the car. And my father, nonchalantly took it back and put the car in his own name. And, as a young 18-year-old, I didn't really know what that meant. It bothered me. I was like, okay, you're going to put it in your name. I just contributed $500. It was I think it was now that I think about it, I was thinking it was more, but no, it was like $900. They wanted more, and they lowered it to $900, and I contributed $500, and he put it in his name. And I thought, okay, well, he's my father, and okay, he's got insurance, and I don't know. And then I moved to New York, and I couldn't take my car to New York because when you move to New York, it's like having a second rent when you have a car. I mean, you can't park it on the street. Typically, it's just really packed in New York. It's not easy to drive in New York. It's just better not to have a car unless you live in Queens or Brooklyn or whatever. And I moved to Queens eventually. And when I moved to Queens, I thought, okay, now I can get my car. In Princeton, I had parked it in my mother's turnaround space in the driveway on Riverside Drive. And what do you know? My brother was given the keys to my car. And I'm like, well, I'd like to have my car back, please. And my parents were going through a divorce, and my mother was like, you abandoned your car in my driveway, and now it's Mark's, And I'm like, excuse me? I paid $500 towards that car. I put $500 towards that car, but nobody cared. You know, Claire moved to New York and she abandoned the car. So now it's Mark's. My brother didn't pay any money for it. I'm like, Mark, give me $500. Or Denny, you know, my father, dad, give me $500. My father refused to give me $500 back. And he just gave it to my brother. And it was because my mother and my father were going through a really horrible divorce battle, I guess, that he had to give it to my brother. You know, it was like a condition or something of the divorce. I have no idea. But screw Claire, screw her $500. You know, oh, you know, you moved to New York, you abandoned it. Tough luck, you know. And I'm like, well, can I have my $500 back? No, I couldn't. And my father had plenty of money, you know. He just didn't want to give it back to me. I don't know why. I mean, he could have given me back my $500, but no. Screw Claire. And my brother didn't understand. He was just so excited to have a car, you know. He was, you know, I guess by then he was 16. He you know, didn't care to understand the situation. And it became his car. He drove that car for years, a lot longer than I ever did. I drove it for not even a year, probably. Anyway, that really, really hurt me. That was like, when I left home and that happened, that was a turning point for me. It was like, wow, I really don't have a family. Nobody gives a fuck about me and my family. I'm nothing in my family. I am, you know, this is not my family. You know, it was like, that's when I realized, I mean, that really hit it home for me, you know. It was very soon after I left home. And we had gone to Hawaii and we got married, and then we came back. And I know my mother was very angry that I had eloped in Hawaii, but, you know, it had nothing to do with her. It was about me. And, you know, it should be about me. It's me who got married. It had nothing. Anyway, my mother had plopped me on my father's doorstep and treated me really badly after my grandmother died, you know, because she knew I was the sole heir, and she got nothing. I mean, you know, the public will had hardly anything in it, you know, just a house that she split with her brother. I don't know if there was any money in the public will, but the top secret will I was the sole heir of, because it was my money that grandma was holding for me. It was always my money, and she was just holding it for me. It wasn't really an inheritance. It was just me, you know. When I turned 18, she was going to give it to me, but she died when I was 16, and when I turned 18, my mother failed to take me to the bank, as she promised the executor of my grandma's top secret will, who was Ross Dryblot. And yeah, I mean, that's my family. And yeah, and it's because, you know, to be honest, I wouldn't be, I don't know how that would work. If it wasn't for my mother, I probably would not still be classified. Is that right? I don't know. If she had just given me, you know, of course I was too young at 18. That's not a good age for a person to get a lot of money, you know. But, you know, 57 is way too old to wait, you know. That's too long to wait. That's the age I am right now. And I was born into this money, and I've lived a life of poverty, not as much in recent years, obviously, but, you know, maybe, I guess you'd say the last, I don't know, it hasn't been as bad in the last decade, but it was utter poverty for many years since I left home. And, you know, my family I guess they just wanted me to die. And now both my parents have died. And I just have my brother who doesn't even acknowledge me as his sister anymore. It's a very sad situation. Yeah. I don't have a family. I haven't. I never did. That wasn't my family. All right. So, yeah, and I was 16. Yeah, it was after I turned 16 that my grandma died, and yeah, she wanted to die, and she tricked my mother into killing her. My mother paid a nurse to inject a lethal substance, which I understand from Elizabeth, who was a registered nurse, that was probably, oh, what is the name of it? I'm forgetting. The word is escaping me. Yeah, they use it for pain, for cancer patients and people who are dying, It's very easy to kill somebody with it, and it happens all the time. I know my father died on Michael Jackson's birthday. I don't think that was by accident. I think that was by design. I think he planned it, and, like grandma. All right, well, let me continue. James came for a sleepover shortly after my birthday, and he helped me set up my Xbox 360. We played a round of Halo 2 to test it out. He didn't bring his computer because he had a desktop that was hard to transport. So I suggested that we go to Planet Cyber to play World of Warcraft together. Our parents dropped us off there, and we had a good World of Warcraft session. It was nice to see that place again, to reminisce of happier times. I proposed for nostalgia's sake that we walk home for the way back. My mother's new house was 3 times the distance from Planet Cyber as her old blue house, but I really wanted to do it. On the way, we passed by that little blue house, and all of the memories came back. The two of us talked a lot and shared some laughs. It was a very memorable night. Okay. So it's not all pain and anguish yet. He acts like everything's so horrible as soon as he hits puberty. It's not all bad. 16 years old. A summer's end drew closer. I became more and more depressed. Oh, as summer's end drew closer, I became more and more depressed. Okay. So he's entering his junior year of high school, right? My life had gotten so lonely, and playing World of Warcraft barely made up for it. My mother noticed this and proposed that I get together with Philip again. She called Philip's mother, Kathy, to arrange a meetup. Wow, so his mother's still doing stuff like this for him when he's like almost a junior in high school? And so Philip came over twice during that summer. I quite liked seeing him again. It was 2 years since the last time we spoke. Though he had no interest in my video games, he enjoyed playing in my mother's swimming pool. I had one play date with Jeffrey as well. Philip and his family went on vacation to Catalina, and Jeffrey wanted to stay at home. I went to his house for a sleepover with just him there. Jeffrey had changed a lot. He was now 14, and he told me he had a girlfriend. I was shocked, amazed, and envious. Again, envious. I wondered how an immature brat like Jeffrey could have a girlfriend at such a young age. I had the dreaded suspicion that he had already had sex with her and tried not to think about it. I was deeply jealous. But for the sake of our past friendship and the good times we had together in the past, I hid that envy well enough. Okay. 11th grade at Independence began. I still took the bus to school as I had no desire to learn how to drive at that age. Okay. I was way too afraid of even trying it out. Driving is something that adults are supposed to do, and I still felt like a child. Apparently, I felt like an adult in high school. You know, I was living with my father, I guess it was, my junior year, and it was like my apartment because he was always traveling, and he moved to an apartment. He was going through a divorce. He had to kind of keep things light, but he lived on a really beautiful street. We did. It was full of mansions, and I loved living on that street. It was just like our house was so dinky. You know, it was just an apartment on the side of a yellow house, a small yellow house. But it was a really lovely road. But yeah, it was like my own apartment. It was great. And it was like I was in my 20s. I felt like I was in my 20s when I was in high school, honestly. I was ready to get married, you know, have a family. I was all ready to go in high school. I mean, I didn't get pregnant, you know. I was determined not to. I was very careful about that. But, you know, not that I could, you know. I got pregnant many times over the years, but they always take my embryos, you know, that's something that was arranged many years before, for a lot of reasons. I'm very petite inside. I know I'm not petite outside right now, but yeah, I mean, I technically could carry a baby, but it would not be good for me, is what I understand. That I'd be forced to get a C-section too, you know, because there's no vaginal canal. It's so short, it's not really a canal, and my uterus is very small, and you know, I couldn't have twins or multiple births. I mean, I'm not a birther. I'm definitely I conceive really easily. They used to call me a baby machine when I was in my fertile years. I conceived probably, I mean, I conceived many, many twins. I guess fraternal twins are what I'm known for, which are more rare than identical twins. I had a lot of natural multiple births. I mean, you know, baby, whatever, embryos, whatever you say. A lot of multiple births, natural multiple births. Triplets came after the twins, and other multiple births. And I ran out of eggs kind of on the early side, probably. That's why. Okay, so I continued on with my lonely routine of doing my schoolwork in the morning and playing World of Warcraft with James, Steve, and Mark for the rest of the time. I gave no thought to my future at all. I just lived in the moment, in my comfort zone. My sex drive was at its peak at this age, 16, huh? Whenever I got back from school, I had to masturbate. The urge was too strong YouTube algorithm. This is a document I am reading and commenting on for educational purposes only. During my masturbation sessions, I often felt elaborate fantasies in my mind. I often built elaborate fantasies in my mind that I had a hot, blonde-haired girlfriend to have passionate sex with, almost like having an imaginary girlfriend. I told no one about this, In fact, I didn't talk to my parents at all about my sexual development. I felt too guilty and embarrassed about it. Whenever they probed me, I lied to them, telling them that I had no sex drive. My mother once caught me looking at pictures of girls online, and I frantically had to convince her that I stumbled on those pictures by accident. I also noticed that my voice was getting deeper. I was starting to sound like an actual teenager. The last stages of puberty were over. Halo 3 came out in November. I got my mother to buy it for me on the very day it was released. I had a lot of fun playing it while drinking the special Mountain Dew flavor that was released with the game. Mountain Dew Game Fuel, it was called. The game definitely lived up to its expectation, and to my surprise, I found myself playing it more than World of Warcraft for the first couple weeks. Father suffered through a deep financial setback because of his movie. Could things get any worse for me? As a result, my father abruptly cut off all of the child support payments he was paying my mother. How could he do that? That's illegal. My mother was forced to find a better paying job to make up for it, and she had to move out of her house to a condominium close by. Why didn't she report him? Thankfully, Rob Limelson offered her a job in his production company. I guess he didn't have money to spare. I mean, he had this big, huge house. I mean, come on. He should have gotten I don't know, he probably already had a mortgage out. Could have used the equity of his house. Well, he probably didn't have it long enough. Thankfully, Rob Limelson offered her a job at his production company, Elemental Productions. I think I've seen that. Really? I have. I think I remember that name. This new job enabled my mother to make enough money to live comfortably. Good. We hadn't seen the Limelsons much since the last time we went trick-or-treating with them years ago. It was good to reconnect with them. I missed Mother living in an actual house, but at least the new place was a condominium with more luxuries than the apartment we once lived in. The condominium had 3 bedrooms, and my room had its own bathroom. Good. I'm glad she let you have that one. The bad part about this condominium was its location in Canoga Park, a lower class area. I hated telling people that my mother lived in Canoga Park. It was highly embarrassing for me, but alas, in that lonely and depressing stage of my life, there was no one really to tell, and I barely cared about what people thought of me anyway. I was a complete dork, stuck in my own little world. An exchange student from France moved into my father's house. His name was Max Bonin, a cultured, outgoing 19-year-old French guy. His parents are very wealthy hotel owners, and he would be staying with us for a few months while he studies English at Pierce College. At first, I wasn't so sure about having this young person lurking about, but we soon developed a good friendship. He always invited me to play cards with him after dinner, and though Sumaya didn't let me drink alcohol, he would always sneak me a beer. Okay, well, by this time he's 16. Okay, not that that's great, but I know what, kids my age were doing. It was really nice to have that regular social interaction. I became really fond of Max. In just 2 weeks after Max arrived, I got the news that Sumaya's father died in Morocco. Sumaya immediately left from Morocco, and she took baby Jazz with her. Though I was really sad about the death of Sumaya's father, as he was a very kind and generous man, I was glad to see Sumaya gone. Father's whole household changed for the better. I started to love going to Father's house, especially with Max there. He was like an older brother to me. My mother became really close friends with the Limelsons due to her new job. Every year, they have an extravagant Christmas party at their newly built mansion in the Palisades, and we would now be invited to it. James also went to the party, and I had a pleasant time hanging out with him and Noah. During one week at Father's after the New Year, Father had to leave for his work. For that week, it was just me, my sister, and Max in the house. The 3 of us had a lot of fun together. Max took to us Max took us to Universal Studios. Father allowed him to drive the big Lexus, for which I was a bit jealous. Well, you never learned to drive, guy. The last time I was at the Universal Studios amusement park was when I just moved to America. Mother took us to the Universal Walk a couple of times, but never the amusement park. I went on all of the rides, including the infamous Jurassic Park ride that I was rejected from going on when I was a child. When Father came back, we talked to him about our time at Universal Studios. He suggested that we all go to Six Flags. The four of us set out for it the next day. Six Flags was the biggest amusement park I've ever been to. I was awed by all the gigantic roller coaster rides. Max, my father, and even my little sister were all eager to tackle the largest roller coasters. I was the only one who was scared out of my mind. Max talked me into it, so I nervously gave all of the rides a try and ended up having some fun. To my chagrin, my father decided to take up motorcycle riding. He pulled up to the house one day in a roaring Harley Davidson, and I was completely baffled. I suppose it was due to some midlife crisis he was going through. A motorcycle? Really? Alex Bubenheim got him into it. He and Alex would then ride their motorcycles all the time. He kept insisting that he take me on the motorcycle whenever we went out instead of going in the car. This would be too embarrassing for me, and I'd adamantly refused to ever go on the motorcycle. I went with Mother to the red carpet premiere of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This was my 4th premiere. Going to premieres were always an uplifting experience for me. The movie was quite a disappointment, however, and I much preferred the classic Indiana Jones films. The next day, I told some of my teachers that I went to this premiere, and they were very shocked. I bet I was the first kid at that school who has done such prestigious things. Sumaya and Jazz returned from Morocco. I was happy to see my baby brother again, but not so happy to see Sumaya. Things were a lot better at Father's house when she was gone. Soon after she came back, we started getting into various arguments again, which embarrassed me in front of Max. In the spring, something horrible happened that will haunt me forever. This is the spring of his junior year? Yeah. We met up with the Bubenheims at the Sagebrush Cantina in Calabasas, and a friend of Paulina's was there with them named Nicole, a girl around my age. She sat next to Leo the whole time, and by the end of the dinner, the two of them were making out. 12-year-old Leo making out with a girl who is almost my age. That's terrible. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's okay, but not only does Leo have a better social life, but now he was making out with girls at age 12. Yeah. I hadn't kissed a boy. Well, I was abused, but my first kiss wasn't until 7th grade. Well, okay, and I turned 13 at the beginning of my 7th grade year. It wasn't making out, it was just a kiss. They made out for a long time, and I could see them tongue kiss. They knew I was watching with envy, and they still did it. I bet that lucky bastard took great satisfaction from my envy. There I was, watching a boy 4 years younger than me experience everything I've longed for, to kiss a girl, to be worthy of a girl's attraction. On that day, I developed a vicious hatred for Leo that will never go away. Why? Why hatred? Why envy? Why? Why can't you admire and, like, say, okay, that's inspiring me, and one day that's going to happen to me too, you know? Okay, yeah, he's a 12-year-old kid. Wow. So if a 12-year-old kid can do it, I can do it. It's going to happen to me. If it happens to some 12-year-old kid, it's going to happen for me. I mean, that's a better way of looking at it. He's just so... I don't know. He's like bipolar or something, right? I mean, don't you think that's bipolar? Just flying off the handle like that. You know, that's intense rage. A few days later, Max went home to France, never to come back again. I was deeply saddened by this. For the brief period that Max was staying at Father's house, I enjoyed life a lot more. He sounded like he was a good friend. He was a big part of my life there. He drove me to places when Father and Sumaya were busy. We played card games and had pleasant conversations after dinner. And we always took walks to the top of the hill overlooking Father's neighborhood, which I called the Overlook. Most importantly, he made me feel less lonely. I was very saddened by his departure. Another horrible experience. So what was is that the horrible experience? Okay, he left. Okay, yeah, people leave, you know. People go back home. It happens, and I'm sorry, but it's not the end of the world. There are other people to meet, other friends to make. Another horrible experience concerning the Bubenheims occurred. We were having dinner at their house like we usually did. At the end of the dinner, a few of Paulina's friends came over. They were all popular, good-looking girls and boys. They were the kind of people who I've always had the desire to be part of, but was never able to fit in with. Popular kids, cool kids. When I heard them talking about their awesome lives and their parties, I had a breakdown right then and there. I realized how much I've been missing out in my life, and I cried in front of everyone. Oh, I felt like I would never have a life as good as theirs. I told everyone that I wanted to commit suicide. Yeah, you need to take this boy to a therapist. And he does seem like he's chemically balanced. He's probably going to need medication. I mean, he's not in a good space. He told everyone he wanted to commit suicide. Red flag, everybody. Father, Sumaya, Alex, and Karina talked to me for 3 hours to cheer me up. To cheer you up, you needed more than that. So nothing was done? He told you he wanted to commit suicide. That's, when you're suicidal like that, you need to, you need to at least see a therapist. That's really scary for a young guy like that. 11th grade at Independence ended. Like the previous year, my time at the school went by like a blur. I didn't talk to anyone. I barely considered it a part of my life. I just did the work that I was required to do while I waited for the bus to take me home. Once summer started, I sank into a major depression. My feelings of inferiority were intensified by the recent events with the Bubenheims. The Bubenheims were family friends, but now they represented the very thing that destroyed my whole life and took away my happiness. It was at this time that I was just beginning to realize with a lot of clarity. Oh, there's clarity again. My name is Claire Elliot. Elliot RODGER'S, right? How truly unfair my life is. Okay, this is when he was beginning to realize with a lot of clarity how truly unfair his life is. I compared myself to other teenagers and became very angry that they were able to experience all of the things I've desired, while I was left out of it. I never had the experience of going to a party with other teenagers. I never had my first kiss. I never held hands with a girl. I never lost my virginity. In the past, I felt so inferior and weak from all of the bullying that I just accepted my lonely life and dealt with it by playing World of Warfare, right? Is that what it stands for? Warcraft, right? World of Warcraft. But at this point, I started to question why I was condemned to suffer such misery. Okay, well, maybe because you're making it, you're isolating more and more with your, You know, somebody, you know, I know that your stepmother tried to balance you, but, you know, you needed a lot more support than what you were getting. And I think they ignored a lot of red flags in you. And really, you're only a junior in high school, okay? Not everybody gets to have that kind of experience in high school. You know, sometimes people are late bloomers, and you definitely are one. And, you know, later on in life, things, you know, that's the thing about life, you know, you don't get something now, you get it later. You know, you would have had, things would have improved later had you just stuck with it. Things don't always have to happen one way for everybody, you know. Different people have different kinds of lives. And okay, so it didn't happen in high school, but it could happen right after high school or soon, not that long. You know, he was only 22 when he died. I mean, for goodness sake. Okay. I mean, the way he talked, he acted like he was 70 years old or something. A virgin at 70. Okay. There was nothing I could really do about my unfair life situation. I felt completely powerless. The only way I could deal with it was to continue to drown all of my troubles with my online games. I think that is really a lot of the problem. I mean, it sounds like he's drowning in the bottle, the way he phrases it. Yeah, and that's what he's trying to express, that it was an addiction. And instead of helping him with that addiction, it seems like people fed it. And I know he really wanted, that was his only joy in life. I understand. It's kind of like an alcoholic saying, you know, the alcohol is the only joy I have left in life, you know, and that's a problem. He needed therapy really, really badly. And I can't believe that his family, who had so many resources and means and connections, couldn't have arranged that. I mean, was it like embarrassing, or is it, you know, I know back, well, no, we're talking what year was it? He was born, I don't even remember what year he was born, but he was 22 when he died, and he died in 2014. So, yeah, he was born in the 90s. So, I mean, by the 90s, people were a lot more broad-minded about therapy. I mean, it wasn't like the 70s or 80s or something. I don't know. But then again, I don't know. I mean, it's not even, I mean, it's better now than it was then. It's true. Okay. So there was nothing I could really do about my unfair life situation. I felt completely powerless. The only way I could deal with it was, right, okay, to drown all of my troubles with my online games, like alcohol or something. I played World of Warcraft really hard, leveling 2 new characters at 70. At my mother's house, I sometimes played it for 14 hours a day. Oh my God. That's not healthy. I mean, he didn't even sleep as much. Oh my God. James, Steve, and Mark would always joke that there was never a time that they saw me offline. I was known as the guy who was always on World of Warcraft. My laptop was getting slower and slower. It wasn't a very powerful laptop, but it was the only computer I had to play World of Warcraft on. This was really frustrating me because eventually it became so slow that it ruined my gaming experience. I kept pestering my mother and father to get me a faster laptop that was more efficient for gaming. For my 17th birthday, okay, we're up to 17. So that's 5 years to go and an epilogue. And it's 3:50 in the morning. How long have I been on? I don't even know. I'm sure it says somewhere, but okay. For my 17th birthday, my parents agreed to split the funds for a new laptop. My mother took me to Best Buy to choose it out. And I found to pick it out is what I would say. And I found the perfect one. It was a larger, highly efficient, dark-colored laptop designed for gaming. After we bought it, I had dinner at the Japanese restaurant Kabuki on Ventura Boulevard, the same restaurant my mother took me to after my 5th grade graduation. That's good. 17 years old. Okay, so I am on page, is it 54? Yeah. Oh, I can't even believe I haven't made, I mean, the epilogue must, I don't know, I don't understand what's going on here. Okay. I just want to, okay, we're at 17 years old. Oh, wait. Okay. So, 1. Well, I can just figure it out math-wise, but 2, 3. I'm not going to count it. Just going to glance. Okay, 18 is long. 17 is not so bad because I guess I don't know, it's not as long. So 18 is pretty long. 19. Yeah, 19 is long too. We're still not out of 19. Okay, 20. Okay. I don't know. I hope I can do this, you know. Yeah, it's long. Okay, where am I? Shy Kid. This is like way back. I went too far. Okay, it's 56, right? I'm on 56. Almost as old as me. Okay, where is it? 17. Okay, I'm just deciding what to do here. Let me look. What is this? Okay, so it's been an hour and a half and 37 minutes and 14 seconds. Well, 16 now. Okay. Not quite 2 hours. And 17 years old is... Okay, so I'm going to read the rest of 17, and then I'm going to be done for now. Actually, boy, that is kind of long. Well, let's see how it goes. 17 years old. Father told me that Max invited me to visit him in France for 3 weeks. I would have to travel there alone, and Max would pick me up at the airport near his hometown of Montpellier. At first, I was very anxious about it, and I was about to say no. Silly. Father talked me into it, saying I was lucky to have an opportunity like this. It's true. I really missed Max and I wanted to see him again, so I quickly made the decision to go. I left around the beginning of August. This was my first time traveling alone. Okay, he's 16? Or no, he's 17. And I didn't know what to expect. Father signed me up to have supervised travel assistants to help me along the way. Otherwise, I would get lost in the airport. On the way there, I made a stop in Frankfurt, Germany to transfer planes. Germany became another country I can add to the list of places I've been. When I arrived at the airport in France, I waited for a few hours and finally Max showed up. I was really happy to see him. I couldn't believe I was actually in France again. Max and I stayed at his grandmother's house in Montpellier. Montpellier was an exquisite city with a romantic and cultured vibe to it. It was such a pity that I was too caught up in my own world to truly appreciate it at the time. Max introduced me to his life in France. I met with some of his friends and we went to bars together. In France, the legal drinking age is 16. So that's probably why he let him have a beer when he was 16. So every so often. So I was able to drink alcohol at a bar. It was astounding. For those 3 weeks, I had the faintest taste of what life was like for normal young people. The experience of hanging out with a group of young people, boys and girls, and enjoying life was something I never did before. It really turned my whole world around for that short amount of time. So this is what everyone else gets to experience, I thought to myself with jealousy. You're experiencing it. Why are you jealous about it? I felt a sense of happiness and bliss that I hadn't felt since childhood when life was good, okay? During the trip, we visited the town of Arles, where we stayed in the hotel that Max's family owns. Max told me about all of the sexual experiences he had. I never knew he had such an active sex life. The more he talked to me about it, the more envious I became. Why didn't you admire him? I don't know. I questioned to myself why he got to experience such an amazing life while I had to suffer so much loneliness and humiliation. I was introduced to some of the girls he had sex with in the past, and they were all pretty. On top of that, his family was extremely wealthy, and they owned a sprawling mansion in the countryside. Where's the justice, I thought. Why couldn't I have been born into that life? I envied Max so much. His life must have been heaven on earth. Despite my envy of Max, I couldn't hate him. At least at that time. He was the only popular young person who ever reached out to me. He invited me to visit his home, and he treated me like a friend. For that, I will always have a grudging respect for Max Bonan. Grudging respect? What is the problem? Just enjoy life and admire people. Why do you have to have such a hatred and envy for people and their good lives? I mean, yeah, I admit my life sucks, but I see everybody else's life is a lot better than mine. But I don't hate them for it. I'm just upset at my life situation, I don't hate them. I mean, good for them. I admire them. It's just, I'm upset about my situation. That's all. All right. You okay, Dean?
All we were there was how many babies were we paying for?
Yeah, I guess they have to be careful, right? Use contraception.
They just take one time.
That's right.
On the hook for 30 years.
Yeah. After 3 weeks in France doing exciting social things, I returned to my lonely life in the U.S., where I became even more depressed than I was in the beginning of summer, especially after getting a taste of what life was truly like for normal people. Well, you got a taste for it. You can continue it in the U.S. I mean, there's a way to do that. I think you know how to interact with people, right? I mean, why couldn't he? I don't know. Maybe you should move to France. I don't know. I knew I could never live such a pleasurable life, and the knowledge haunted me. Why? I was back to my routine of World of Warcraft. At least the new expansion was coming out soon, and I tried to look forward to that. When 12th grade began, this is senior year, I made a vow to finish high school before the month of March. Good for you. The high school system at Independence allows students to work at their own pace, so the more extra work I did, the sooner I could graduate. Good. I was always depressed and bored for the few hours a day I had to spend there, and I disliked all of the degenerate, low-class students there. Oh my goodness, what a snooty kid he was, boy. Degenerate. Low class. They repulsed me. I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could, and it became my goal for the year. At the end of the school time every day, I asked my teachers to give me extra homework assignments, and I stopped myself from playing World of Warcraft until I completed them. The second expansion for World of Warcraft finally released, called Wrath of the Lich King. When I got home from school, I wanted the game so badly. Mother wasn't home from work yet, so she couldn't drive me. I decided to walk all the way to Best Buy to pick up the game. It was a long walk that took almost an hour. On the way home, I was very hungry and stopped at Panda Express to eat lunch. I love Panda Express. That's like, I used to eat over there all the time when I was in Los Angeles. And I came up with that orange chicken in the test kitchen that made them so famous. I'm one of the people responsible for that delicious orange chicken. I guess it's one of my businesses. You know, Panda, you know, it's a reference to, I think pandas reproduce a lot, right? And it's a reference to me. I had a panda on my shelf at home, you know, a stuffed panda. Anyway, it's Chinese, right? California Chinese, something like that. To eat lunch. Planet Cyber was right next to that Panda Express, so I walked in there for a few seconds to reminisce about better times before hurrying home to install the game. Once it was installed, James and I played it together all afternoon. I found out that one of my teachers at Independence, Mr. Perales, also played World of Warcraft. From then on, the two of us would talk about the game every day. It was nice to have someone at school to talk to, and I enjoyed telling him about my daily progression with my character. This made my time at school a lot less mundane and boring. James, Steve, and Mark were the closest thing I had to a group of friends. They are a group of friends. What do you mean the closest thing? What is wrong with... That is a group of friends. What do you mean? I played with them online almost every day. So, yeah, pretty close friends at that. We had so many adventures in World of Warcraft as a group, and yet I felt like the outcast of the group. Why? Steve and Mark only considered me an online friend, never a real friend. Why do you say that? I found out that the three of them had World of Warcraft meetups at one of their houses a lot, and they never invited me. Did they live in a different area? Did they go to a different school? Sometimes when I would be playing with them online, I would find out that they were all together in real life, and I was the only one left out. Whenever they did this, I acted bitter towards them through the game, but they didn't even care. Even in the World of Warcraft, I was an outcast, alone and unwanted. Okay, I'm trying to remember. Well, James was his original friend. Steve and Mark were his online friends. They were friends. All three of them were friends before he met. Well, he was friends with James, and I think James acquired Steve and Mark as friends online later. But all three of them were friends. And then Elliot started hanging out with them later. So they had their original group without him. And he has to understand that's the way friends work. I know my feelings are hurt a lot, you know, in situations like that too. But, you know, just understand the history. You know, they were used to hanging out together, all three of them, before you joined the group. So that's probably why, you know, they were used to being together. And that's probably, and you probably didn't go to school with them, right? Did they all go to the same school or something? I don't know. There's reasons for that. It's not because they hated you or deliberately left you out. It was just the way it seemed to work out a lot of times. And I'm sure they would have included you had you asked them to, or asked, or offered to get together with them or something. The more lonely I felt, the more angry I became. The anger slowly built up inside of me throughout all of the dark years. Even after the release of the new World of Warcraft expansion, I noticed that the game's ability to elevate my sense of loneliness was starting to fade. To alleviate my sense of loneliness. Okay. I noticed that the game's ability to alleviate my sense of loneliness was starting to fade. I began to feel lonely even while playing it, and I often broke down into tears in the middle of my World of Warcraft sessions. I began to ask myself what the point was in playing this game anymore. I spent less and less time playing it. All right. One day I found some posts on the internet about teenagers having sex, and I was once again reminded of the life I had been denied. Okay, these kids who interact with each other and become sexual, it's because they're out in the world. They're not at home playing World of Warcraft games and isolating themselves. And, you should have sat down and really thought about everything logically instead of escaping or allowing your emotions to take you down a hole to the point of no return. Think about things logically sometimes. You're highly intelligent. Use your logic to think things through. Okay, I want this experience. How do I create this experience for myself in real life? I want to meet a girl and go out with the right, not any girl. You want to go out with the right girl, not just any girl. How can I possibly meet that right girl for me? Okay, well, I'm not going to meet her playing World of Warcraft. I mean, unless she's a player. It sounds like there weren't any girls doing that back then. I mean, there are now. So, think about what you need to do to put yourself in a situation where you're more likely to meet a person that would be a good match for you in the real world. I mean, isolating yourself at home and playing games is not going to enable you to, if it's that important to you, you're never going to meet a girl that way. So stop playing all your computer games and live your real life. Join a club, where, a club of people that share your interests, and who knows, I just, obviously you weren't participating in real life enough, and this is what happens. Really, I mean, I can see how, I can see the mistakes he made, and I can see the mistakes his parents made, and, it's too bad that it ended the way it did, but I don't think it always ends that way. But, you see all the clues along the way, all the red flags, and something could have been done. I mean, he obviously he didn't have control of his rage, and that's bipolar right there. Bipolar, All right. I mean, at least that's what I think. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatrist. So, that's my opinion. All right. So he wasn't denied that life. And really, you don't want that life that he's fantasizing about. You want a life that is compatible with you and your hypersensitivity. You want a sensitive woman. You don't want some, these you don't want just any woman with a pretty face and a pretty body. You want the right woman for you. There's real life and then there's fantasies, okay? Just because real life is different from fantasies doesn't mean that real life sucks, It doesn't have to. I mean, I should take my own advice, I guess. I mean, I'm not talking about, in my situation, I just want a life, I've been denied what is mine for my whole life. And, everybody takes credit for everything I've ever done. Just about everything I've done, all the big stuff anyway. And I'm supposed to be just fine with that and just live a normal life. I can, once I didn't always consciously remember anything. And now that I can, I expect to be declassified. I mean, I was promised that I would be declassified by now. I mean, this is the torture for me. And yeah, I mean, at a certain point, you got to let go and just like live the life in front of you, whether you like it or not. I'm really wrestling with that right now, but I don't have a choice, right? I mean, I'm a human being on Earth, and this is what I'm faced with. And, I guess I'll just like sit here, in my house and, I could really clean my house. I mean, I organize. I'm really good at organization. I've cleaned professionally for years. I mean, I should really do that to my house. I should clean and organize it. But I'm so consumed with what has been taken from me or what I have been prevented from having that is mine and solely mine. It's an obsession. It is. And I guess I relate to him in that way. I've done everything within my power to try to get what's mine. I was told to just walk into the bank and slap down my ID and the bank would give me my money. I mean, that's what I was told. Ross told me that. Just go to the bank when you're ready, That's why I've been like racking my brain. What don't I remember? What am I forgetting? Because I haven't always remembered so many things. And, am I like, is there something I'm not remembering? I keep racking my brain for years and years. I'm like, okay, what do I need? Oh, and I get an idea and I just need to do this. Okay, I just need to do this. Nothing works, nothing happens, nothing changes. And, it's torture to be the victim of a crime like this and for no one to be able to do anything to help me. It's far more torture than what he's talking about, He obviously needs medication, I'm just really frustrated with my life situation that shouldn't, I feel like I have never been allowed to be who I really am, I spent most of my life not even knowing who I was, not even remembering who I was. And then I worked so hard and I finally remember it and nobody will acknowledge or reward me with a life, that is mine, I have to live this fake existence, and wait and wait and wait. And, who knows, maybe I'll be waiting till I die. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm at a point where I just have to, like, turn my attention somewhere else because my husband Dean told me, was it today? I think it was earlier today, that he's really worried about me, that he's never seen me like this. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, because I've always been frustrated, But he really worries about me right now. He's really worried about me right now. And, you know, like he feels, I don't know, he just feels like I'm about to self-destruct. And I'm like, you know, Dean, I'm really, really frustrated, and I'm expressing myself in any way I can, and, you know, but inside I feel calm. You know, I feel like he's projecting onto me because I know he's not calm. He's the one that gets really stressed out and goes and is like a ticking time bomb, you know, about to self-destruct. I feel calm inside, even though I'm so frustrated, you know. I feel peace and a calm inside. It's, you know, I get it out. I express myself like I am now, and that's how I cope, you know. I get it out. Daddy taught me to do that when I was a baby. You don't hold it in. I mean, when you hold things in, that's when you do self-destruct eventually. You have to. It's just the order of it's just the natural order of things, you know. Yeah, I'm just really sad and frustrated with my life and the state it's in, and, you know, I could almost cry about it right now, and I'm on the verge of tears right now thinking about it, but there's nothing I can do, you know. And yeah, I've done everything I can think of to do other than clean and organize my house. You know, I know feng shui is a real thing, but I just, you know, I'm just, that's just a huge task. Let's just put it that way. And it's something I need to attend to, yes, but I guess in my mind, I'd rather just have a different living space and then come back here and do that. But then, yeah, I'd probably never want to do that. I don't know. I would just like to pack things up, put it in a storage thing, and do it little by little, you know. There's a lot to let go of in this house. You know, it takes a lot of energy to go through things piece by piece, article by article. You know, it's a lot of energy. I tend to want to reserve my energy and my brain power for the things that really matter to me. I just like, you know, keep, you know, I do what I have to in my house, and that's it, you know. I don't go over and beyond. I don't organize and clean and every little nook and cranny. I just can't deal with that for some reason. I don't know, but maybe I need to. I mean, maybe that's my block, and I've thought about that many times. That, you know, feng shui. My house is my life. I know. And I'm so stubborn. I don't want to do what I have to do. It's just so much. I feel like it's a waste of time. That's how I feel. I know it's not, but I mean, when you look at my life and all that's wrong, I feel like, gosh, I want to focus on that and make it better. I don't want to focus on my house. It just seems so unrelated. It just seems, I don't know, but it's totally related. I know. I'm so stubborn. Okay, well, okay. All right, so he feels denied of the life he's always wanted. I felt that no girl would ever want to have sex with me. And I developed extreme feelings of envy, hatred, and anger towards anyone who has a sex life. Boy, that is really over the top. I saw them as the enemy. I felt condemned to live a life of lonely celibacy while other boys were allowed to experience the pleasures of sex, all because girls didn't want me. I could see how he just creates this situation for himself. I felt inferior and undesirable. You felt that way, but that doesn't mean that you really are. You know, I think you need to deal with your feelings. You know, that might help to really deal with those feelings and understand them. Maybe understand why you feel that way. Like, what happened? You know, like underneath the surface. Like, it's probably not what you think is making you feel sad. You know, there's probably something deeper, a lot deeper. I felt condemned to live a life of lonely celibacy. Right. Okay. I read that. I felt, okay. This time, however, I couldn't just stand by and accept such an injustice anymore. I refused to continue hiding away from the world and forgetting about all the insults it dealt to me. He's just really making himself out to be the total victim. Like, he has nothing to do with what he experiences. Like, nothing he does contributes to the problem. You know, like, it wouldn't matter what he does. It would just get worse no matter what, right? That's how he's presenting it, and it's just not true. He makes it worse by not taking action. You know, that's the thing. When you have a dream, when you have a vision, you have to take action. You can't just pray for it or wish it. You got to take action towards it. You know, that's what I've always done with my money. And a lot of people would say, well, why don't you create a career for yourself if you want money? You know, yeah, that would be a luxury. I know. I'm 57 and I don't have a career after all this time because I've been too busy surviving, overcoming what people have, people have tried to keep me down and they haven't succeeded. But, all my energy and focus has gone into survival, and that, I haven't had the luxury of creating a career for myself, and I could change that tomorrow. I'm not 70 years old. I'm 57. I could do something, and it's hard for me to make a decision about what I want to do, Anyway, I just want my money, because that's what will enable me to do anything and everything I want to do. And it would enable me to stop stressing so much, and it would help me relax and focus. And, I'm always it seems like I'm always racking my brain. Yeah, it's grown my brain power. It's made me smarter, I guess. On the surface, people probably don't understand what that, I don't know. I probably don't appear at all smart to to those kinds of people. But poverty makes you smarter because, whatever challenges you makes you better, makes you stronger and then better than you were before. And poverty's really hard. Wealth, not nearly as hard. Yeah, I know there are certain problems that come with wealth. But after you've been in poverty, I know there are people who win the lottery and they lose everything. I understand. But yeah, I know. I'm not saying that it's easy. It's just a lot easier to be wealthy than it is to be impoverished. never knowing how you're going to survive from day to day or week to week, month to month, year to year. It's so much easier having money in the bank. Yes, you have to take certain precautions, you know, that you don't have to be so worried about when you don't have money. I understand that, but believe me, those precautions that you have to analyze and put in place they're really pretty simple compared to all the thought process that is involved in poverty. Survival. Poverty and survival are training programs. You know, you want to get strong, you want to get smarter, survive poverty without getting in trouble, without dying, without becoming a drug addict. I just hear some scratching sounds. I'm just wondering where it's coming from. Okay, must be in the next room. Sorry. I must be near to where I was gonna stop. Yeah, it's 4:27 a.m. Oh my gosh, I gotta sleep a little bit. Let's see. Okay, that's my cat. All right. This is too much. Okay, I'm just trying to figure out where I was. Yeah, it must be. He repeats himself, doesn't he? A little bit. Okay, here's where I was. All right, let me read a little more and then I'll stop. I felt condemned to live a life of lonely celibacy. Well, okay, I've already read that. Yeah, so I refused to continue hiding away from the world and forgetting about all the insults it dealt to me. Yeah, he's like acting like he has nothing to do with it. I began to have fantasies of becoming very powerful and stopping everyone from having sex. I wanted to take their sex away from them, just like they took it away from me. How did they take it away from you? I saw sex as an evil and barbaric act, all because I was unable to have it. This was the major turning point. My anger made me stronger inside. I see. It makes you feel stronger because you feel so weak. I see. This is when I formed my ideas that sex should be outlawed. He really formed such ideas? It is the only way to make the world a fair and just place. If I can't have it, I will destroy it. That sounds just like David. You know, back when we were talking about the O.J. Simpson case, back, you know, soon after it happened. Yeah, I think it was still in 1994, after the murders. He said, and this, I had wiped my mind of the truth, and, even, I didn't even remember Ron anymore, I didn't even remember him being Tiffany's friend or anything, I'm pretty sure it was still 1994. It was like towards the end of the year. And he turned to me and he said, maybe it was during the trial. Maybe it was later. But it was in that time period. It's no, I believe it was 1994 still. I remember it not being that long after everything. He turned to me and he said, I can really understand. He was acting like it was OJ. I can really understand OJ, if he couldn't have her, no one would. That's what he said to me, and I thought that was really interesting. And that's what I see here. If I can't have it, I will destroy it. And that's what he did to me a couple times. He did destroy me. I mean, not that I broke up with him or anything. I broke up with him later. But, I guess he had processed things. He no longer was killing my boyfriends. I had to do it very gradually, go out with guys and then get back together with him. It was a very gradual process breaking up with him, really. We were on again, off again. And, I had no memory of Ron. I just went right back into my relationship with David like we had never broken up. It was really a really odd situation. And, we'd break up. I'd go out with other guys and then I'd get back with him, we go back and forth, that's how I weaned him off. I mean, not that I was trying to wean him off of me. It was just, I was letting him go myself. And, from my experience, I was letting him go, and I did so in stages. But really the truth of the matter is he was letting me go, I was able to let him go much more easily than he was able to let me go, because he didn't ever have the connection he had with me. I don't think he ever had it before. I mean, I can't even believe that, when I started going out with him, there was this woman he had become engaged with in the 1980s that I could never live up to. That's how I felt. But I way surpassed her. And I mean, that was my goal at the time. I was like, I'm going to blow her out of the water. You'll see. He'd hold her over me, kind of. Well, not really, but a little bit. It was just that feeling like I could never compare to that person. And I blew her out of the water. I know I did. I achieved my goal. But, not that I have anything to show for it. I have so many achievements. I have nothing to show. I mean, I can't show any of my... I'm here. I'm alive. Okay. That's about all I got. I'm happily married. It's not a perfect marriage. No marriage is, We have our issues with his family, and we've been through so much together. And, when you've gone through a lot of hardship with a person, it really bonds you in a solid way. You get close. I mean, if it doesn't break you up, I know. I mean, it really solidifies things. So, appreciate the obstacles, because they're there to make you better than you were before, to make you stronger than you were before. It's really hard, but you get through them and you have more appreciation, I think. I mean, hopefully you do. And, it's just, when your whole life is a bunch of obstacles, one obstacle after another, it's like, and you get no break, you get no, that's my life. And I'm just waiting. I'm tired of paying for everything up front. Okay. Yes, I'm paying cash up front for a great life whenever the hell it'll begin. I don't know when it will ever happen. And I'm just tired of that. You know, everybody's on their credit cards, filling, you know, putting it on their credit card to the max. They're maxing out all their cards. And here I am being, you know, I want to pay everything up front, but, you know, I'm being forced to you know, pay every last penny up front. I mean, yes, that was something I chose to do. I know, I remember, but I mean, give me a break. I have $20 more. Can you let me slide and let me pay $20 later? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just like, we're almost there. Come on, give me a break. You give everybody else like $1 million credit lines, and me, I have to pay the last $20 if you know, I don't die first, you know? I have to pay it up front, don't I? Every last penny, and you're not going to budge till I pay every last penny. And, you know, you're hoping I keel over dead before I get there, right? That's what's going on here. That's how I feel. But, you know, I do feel victimized like he does, but and I am upset about it, but I'm not angry. You know, I'm not enraged at the people who've had it better than me and easier. I mean, I'm upset that I don't get the same opportunities they do, but I don't hold it against them like he does. That's the difference between him and me. I do know that I made certain choices, and, you know, I counted on certain things working out by now that have not happened. And yeah, I took a risk and I have failed. And I guess my whole life is failure, you know? I guess I'm going to die a failure. And I'm so used to being a loser, it's no big deal. Okay. You know, life as usual. I just think that I deserve a break, you know? I know I'm not really a loser. I know I'm not really a failure. And I know I'm just waiting something out until my life can begin. And I just don't know why my life can't begin sooner. That's what I just don't understand. And I really want to understand one day. You know, when I finally break through and my day comes, I want a full explanation. I want to understand everything that happened to me, because I certainly don't understand it going through it. I have ideas about what's happening, but I have no idea what's happening. I can only guess and hope it gets better. And I'm just really sad that nothing ever gets better for me, you know? I mean, that is not fair. That is not the way anyone else is treated in this life. Everybody gets a break sometimes. Everybody, every human being gets a break sometimes. I mean, yeah, you give me little baby miniature microscopic breaks. I mean, thanks. I mean, I guess if you didn't, I would die, right? You have to do the very minimum to keep me going. But to not give me anything, it's just not right. It's ethically wrong. Oh, but you know I'll survive. Yeah, I always do. And it would be a good thing if I died anyway. So, you know, you don't want to help me because you know I'll survive. And if I don't, that's great news, right? Yeah. All right. Well, all right. So this sounds totally like the philosophy, you know, the secret philosophy of David. If I can't have it, I will destroy it. And this is when he says, that's the conclusion I came to right then and there. I spent more time studying the world, seeing the world for the horrible, unfair place it is. It is an unfair, horrible place at times. It really is. I mean, I know. I then had the revelation that just because I was condemned to... You're not condemned. I don't see it that way. Just because I was condemned to suffer a life of loneliness and rejection doesn't mean I am insignificant. I agree. Just because you're alone right now and, I don't know, you don't have the social skills to improve your life, you can learn those social skills you need to improve your life, okay? You're not stuck, you know. Buddhahood is in everything. There's a way out. You're never trapped without any option. And yeah, here I am. I'm trapped. And maybe, I know Daddy wants me to clean and organize my house. I just feel like it's a waste of time. How am I going to make money cleaning and organizing my house? Yeah, I could film it. I know. I could make YouTube videos. I know. These are all ideas I've had. I know. I have so many ideas. It's like really hard to pick one and focus only on that. What's going on, Dean?
The babies.
You what?
Checking on babies.
Checking on them? He's a boy. Yeah, it's Mikey over there.
Baby girl.
Mm-hmm. He's a good girl. Yeah. Yeah, perhaps I'm being given no other option but to clean and organize my house.
Or just move.
Well, that's what I'd prefer to do, is just move.
Leave everything behind.
No, I wouldn't leave everything behind. I'd just put it in a box and put it, take it with me, and then slowly but surely, go through the box and do it at my leisure. I mean, when I don't have any care in the world, when I don't have to worry about how I'm going to survive, how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do, if I had my money, I wouldn't have that kind of stress anymore. Yes, I'd have different stresses. I'd have to protect myself, my family, my money, all that crap. Simple compared to what I've been through. And, I could, in my leisure, at my convenience, go through everything little by little. And it would be so much simpler because I'd have a good environment to live in and wouldn't have to think about it. It would just be an easy, fun task. Right now, it's not easy or fun. Huh?
When you reach this plateau.
What plateau?
When you're above all this crap, you'll be as battle hardened as a...
I'll be what?
You'll be the most battle hardened soldier there ever was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nothing. You'll be damn bulletproof, okay?
Well, I don't know. I guess it's an experiment to see how far they can push me. It's not ethical. It's not right. It's not humane. And I'm just so tired of being an experiment, Dean. It's like experiment over. Experiment terminated. You have all your findings. You have all your conclusions. All your hypotheses have been proven or disproven. End of experiment. Claire is no longer available to be an experiment.
You get your money, then you and I will go to the U.S. Navy SEAL.
Well, they won't give me my money.
Training camp, okay?
Okay,
they
but
said, we need 100 SEAL teams.
Okay,
This is
Dean,
what we're going to do.
Dean, I won't get my money until I am guarded, until I'm, protected.
That's why you have 100 SEAL teams right here.
Right. They're gonna be, I'll be I'll be protected before any news hits the airwaves, before any money hits my bank account, or at least it's in my bank account now. I just can't see it. It doesn't exist for me. But until I won't I won't be able to see any of my bank accounts or be told anything, be given any information about my life or anything to confirm everything that I remember until all protection is in place.
To your bank and see how much money is in your account today.
Dean, it's not going to work like that.
Why?
They need to protect me before anything is, released to me, before any news is released about me. I have to be under full protection before anything happens. I mean, it'll be almost simultaneous, of course. I mean, but it will not, the news and the appearance of my bank account won't be released to me and to the world. I mean, the bank account won't be released to the world. It'll be released to me, but the news won't be released to the world until I'm under full protection. That's the way it works.
I've got the news story. They sent Trump out to Idaho. When they find him guilty, it's 4 guys out there with machine guns. Trump is dead. All deals are off now.
All right.
All deals. He's been stealing Claire's money for his entire life.
Yeah, I know.
Now he can't steal a damn now because now he's dead.
And you know who Trump is? I don't know. Do I talk about this publicly? I don't think I've mentioned it publicly. You know who Trump is? It's my unhealthy, abnormal twin. That's her alternate persona. And that's why he thinks he's king, because my twin is obsessed with stealing my identity or life or whatever it is. She is. And that's why Trump thinks he's queen, because he's really a girl.
Claire?
But she was given up for adoption. She didn't grow up in my family. You have to grow up in the lineage. Yes, she was born into the lineage, but she probably thinks because she was the biggest baby, she was no, you weren't the firstborn. I was. I was the only healthy, normal baby, even though I was smaller than you.
Perhaps he is a queen.
That's why my mother gave you up. You were not normal, and neither was our triplet brother. I mean, not that that's okay. I'm not condoning her behavior. I'm just explaining that at birth and today, I am the only healthy, normal triplet, period. My twin, I speak to my twin right now. You are not healthy and normal. I know you're the only one who doesn't understand that. And you've tricked a lot of people who are under your spell. I mean, obviously you have great talent when it comes to some people. But the truth is that you are not me. And I'm sorry. All right. So, okay, so he's talking about having a high level of intelligence. I agree. That's his whole problem, is that he's so intelligent, that this world is so painful. And, I understand. I've gone through the same thing. The problem is that, I've gone through so much that it has, I've built up a certain resistance and strength that he, obviously hasn't. Okay. All right. Let me just find a good stopping place, but I'm trying to find where I was. Okay. I then had the revelation. Okay, so I spent more time studying the world, seeing the world for the horrible, unfair place it is. And it is horrible and it is unfair. I then had the revelation that just because I was condemned, yeah, I guess it feels that way, To suffer a life of loneliness and rejection doesn't mean I am insignificant. I agree. I have an exceptionally high level of intelligence. Yes, this is true. I see the world differently than anyone else. Because of all of the injustices I went through, I don't know what injustices you went through. Well, you went through a few problems at school, right? With kids that are stupider than you, who are ignorant, and you should know that and not allow them to bother you. Feel sorry for them. Have pity on them. Don't allow them to control your life and the way you see yourself. Okay, so I see the world differently than anyone else. Because of all the injustices I went through and the worldview I developed because of them, I must be destined for greatness. I must be destined to change the world, to shape it into an image that suits me. Okay, I don't know what he exactly means by that. But yes, I would say that because you're going through what you are, that gives you the fuel to create a better life with that in mind, you know, trying to make the world a better place. At the beginning of the winter break, I decided to quit playing World of Warcraft entirely. This is his senior year of high school. On my last day on the game, I had a long emotional conversation with James where I opened up about all of my troubles. That's good. At least you talked to somebody. I told him about all my newfound views of the world and my belief that sex must be abolished. Oh my God, he must have thought you were nuts. He seemed to be supportive of my stance, and I was glad that he understood me. It was a very memorable day. He was probably being nice. Okay, I just, I know this is much long. I'm not gonna get to this place very quickly. I feel like reading a little more and then finding a place to stop. My father's movie was released, but it did not do well at all. He was only able to get it released in a few select theaters, and no one was interested in seeing it. He stupidly invested all of his money into the movie, and he got absolutely nothing out of it. I relate. I can relate, definitely. I've invested all of my money, time, resources, etc., and I have nothing to show for it, and I'm just totally in debt now. Yeah, so I relate. I have nothing to show. I mean, at least he has a house and a life, and things aren't that bad for him.
No.
Family.
His wife had a house. He couldn't buy nothing because he was over 70 years old.
No. I'm talking about his father, who back then was, well, I don't know. He's probably around my age. I don't know. In 2014, his son was 22 years old. I don't know, he looks like he's probably our age or something. He bought the houses when he was younger. Okay. This caused him to fall into a financial crisis. Yeah, I'm in a financial crisis that he will be stuck in for a long time. Yep, me too. Well, my money would just take me right out of it in an instant. I mean, I wouldn't be stuck in it in any time at all. If somebody would just give me what's mine. You know, it's frustrating because it's mine. It doesn't belong to anybody else. And why are all these people in control of what's mine? You know, it doesn't belong to them. It belongs to me. Well, I just don't understand it.
Every president since Lyndon Johnson has had a bunch of your money for them to build bridges that went nowhere and had their
okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
Every president.
All right, Dean. I just want to continue this, okay? I know. I don't want to get too into all that stuff, okay? Right. I was annoyed that he kept having to make it clear to us that he was now in a financial crisis. He talked about it all the time, and it was embarrassing. I guess talking about it all the time perpetuates it, huh? And that's what I'm doing, maybe. What a bitter coincidence that right at the point when my life fell even deeper into agony, my father is cursed with this financial crisis. Like he's cursed. He made a, he took a chance, he took a risk, and
when he died, he went straight to hellfire.
Dean, I'm not talking about that.
Yes.
I'm talking about the father of Elliot RODGER'S. He still lives today. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. He took a risk. He knew he was taking a risk, but he knew there was a lot of money to be made if it went well, but it went bad. He failed. And yeah, when you take a risk like that, hopefully it's a risk you can afford to take, but obviously it was not a risk he could afford to take. He gambled. It was too steep a risk, and he couldn't, if it failed, he obviously was not prepared for it to fail. He thought it was going to go through and be successful, and he was wrong. And yeah, I relate. Right at the, I have created my situation in that I made certain choices. I focused on certain things because I remember everything like it's yesterday now. I mean, at one time I didn't remember anything, and everything was right there for me to take it. It was in my face when I didn't remember it. And now that I remember it, everyone makes sure it's hidden away so I can't find it. Catch-22. It's terrible. Okay, so...
You know what catch-22 is, right?
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
No. Catch-22 is you have to be crazy to fly, and you can't fly if you're crazy.
Right.
That's catch-22.
I know, you can't, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I mean, it's like a limbo, impossible situation. Okay. Right at the time when I needed my father's support the most, he lost all of his assets. It was as if some malevolent, how do you say that? Malevolent being cursed me with bad luck. Boy, he's really blaming everything outside of himself, isn't he? I mean, I do it too to some extent because I have done everything I can think of to get my money back. I've followed all instructions. I've worked so hard to no avail. So I feel like, obviously I'm not doing what I need to do. Yeah, and the only thing I can think of is I haven't cleaned and organized my house. That's the only thing. And I haven't lost my weight. And that's it. Done everything else. It'll be a lot easier to lose weight when I'm not stressed out all the time surviving. And of course, to have a new living space would be so much easier, and I would maintain a clutter-free new living space, and I would make sure, this one over here doesn't clutter it up when we have a new living space. And and I could hire people to assist me if necessary, but I'm pretty sure that we could maintain a lot of it ourselves. I would enforce that, definitely. And then at my leisure, at my convenience, go through our old life and our old belongings and decide, what I need to do with each and every piece and article. I would prefer to do it that way. I know, I'm stubborn. But I think I feel like everybody else is stubborn too. They want me to do it this way, and it's like etched in stone, and I can't do it any other way. It's that way or the highway, and I hate that. It's like being forced. It's like force. I hate being forced to do anything. I mean, can't you loosen up and allow me to do things the way I'm more comfortable doing them? Why do I have to do it one way? The way that was decided upon 50 years ago or whatever, whenever it was decided. I just, it's crazy in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, before long, I'm just, I don't know. I'm depressed about it. Malevolent. Is that how you say it? Malevolent? How do you pronounce that word? Do you know? Malevolent? 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 No, that's not it. Okay. I don't really want to look it up anyway. I truly had no advantage at all. The universe was not kind to me. See, I don't feel that way about the universe. I know the universe is on my side and it protects me and takes care of me despite all this shit, you know? I don't blame the universe. I guess I blame the people in control, you know? I'm not in control and I blame those who are. I'm very angry about that.
All the demons too.
And it doesn't seem like I can change it or do anything. You know, because I've tried to do whatever I can except clean and organize my house and lose my weight. Those are the only three things, right? I haven't done. And I'm being forced to do them? I don't know. I formed an ideology in my head of how the world should work. I was fueled both by my desire to destroy all of the injustices of the world and to exact revenge on everyone I envy and hate. I guess this is David's philosophy. I didn't really understand that when he was in my life. Of course, when he told me about his crimes and murders and things when I was unconscious, he explained that. I mean, he was exacting, it was like he was correcting the injustices of the world. He was correcting wrongs, is how he described it, or how I understood it, the way he described it. I decided that my destiny in life is to rise to power so I can impose my ideology on the world and set everything right. I was only 17. I have plenty of time, I thought to myself. I spent all of my time studying in my room, reading books about history, politics, and sociology, trying to learn as much as I can. Wow, that's admirable after just doing games. That's great. I became a new person, furiously driven by a goal. My torment would continue, but I had something to live for. I felt empowered. Yeah, my business is the Department of Empowerment. I'm going to stop in a moment, but let me just read a little more. I went over to James's house to have a sleepover. Usually when I went there, we spent the whole time playing World of Warcraft, with the exception of walking to town for lunch. Because I quit World of Warcraft, this was the first time we had to find other things to do. That must have been really strange. We spent most of the time going on walks around the Palisades town center or along the Palisades bluffs, talking about our views of the world and our hopes and dreams. I told him more about my hatred of people who have sex. James quickly deduced the reason for why I was so fervent about abolishing sex, that in truth I really want to have sex, but I feel like I can never have it, so I wish to take it away from everyone else. He read me very well. I had to admit that he was right. That is the exact reason for it. Yes. I fulfilled my vow of finishing high school by March. Good for you. In fact, I finished it a bit earlier than I expected. In mid-February, I completed so many homework assignments towards the end, especially since I no longer played World of Warcraft. I was glad to be done with it. School was finally over. Not having to go to school anymore gave me a lot of free time to think and brood. Okay, I'm feeling like I want to read a little more. As time progressed, I realized how hopeless everything in my life was. The chances that I will ever rise to power and right the wrongs of the world were extremely slim. I had absolutely no idea or plan of how to acquire any sort of power. It was naive of me to think that I could one day become a dictator. Oh, is that what he wanted to be? Yeah, I guess that's right. That's what he described. The only thing I could do was fantasize about it. My whole world twisted even deeper into darkness and despair as my depressing life continued on. My hatred for people who have sex festered inside me like a plague. I frequently went on walks around town to brood over how hopeless and unfair everything was. It was better than being stuck in my room all the time. When I saw young couples walking around at the mall, my anger and hatred intensified greatly. It was the worst torture ever to see them making out and being intimate. My life, if you call it a life, was living hell. Oh my goodness. My parents quickly took note of how radical I was becoming, and they made a hasty plan to change my life. Of course, that is what they claimed. I think they were just trying to find a way to get rid of me because I was too hard to deal with. Sumaya was going back to Morocco, and they decided to send me with her. It was the most ridiculous plan I've ever heard. They announced this to me at a cafe near my mother's house. I was expecting something extreme, something drastic, but it completely caught me off guard. Morocco? They think I'll be happy there? I furiously thought with disbelief. I was devastated, and for a moment I couldn't even speak. The last thing I wanted was to hide away in a backwater country with nothing to do, while all of my peers enjoy life in the U.S. I didn't want to run away from my troubles in the U.S. I wanted to confront them. Well, that sounds healthy. I just didn't know how. Going to Morocco was the absolute worst solution for me, and they intended for me to stay there for a long time. By now, he's 17, almost 18. I think he can make his own choices pretty soon. After hearing this news, I felt a sense of urgency that I had never felt before. They already had a plane ticket ready for me, and I was scheduled to leave in 5 days. My immediate goal was to stop my parents from sending me to Morocco. Throwing a tantrum with my mother didn't work. She was set on this. I spent the remaining 5 days at Father's house. While there, I chose not to protest at all because I knew it wouldn't work. They will force me onto that plane one way or another. I decided to keep quiet and devise a plan of escape. I bided my time and didn't talk much to Father or Sumaya during these last few days. The plan I came up with was to run away on the morning before the flight, walk all the way to my mother's condo, and hide in a secret spot on the roof. It would be a place where they least expected me to be. I kept quiet in the last couple of days to throw off their suspicion, but that backfired and made them even more suspicious. I suppose they expected me to protest about going, and my silence made them think I was up to something. When the time came, I decided to get up at 4 a.m. to prepare. To my dismay, I noticed that my father set an alarm on the front door. I was planning to run away at 6 a.m. when the garbage truck arrived because the noise from the truck would mask any noise I make while leaving. The alarm, however, would definitely alert Father and Sumaya. I got too nervous and abandoned that idea. Instead, I waited until everyone woke up and had breakfast. My plan was ruined by the alarm, and I had to come up with a new plan fast. I had little time left. I innocently told Father I wanted to go on a small walk before the departure, and as soon as I exited the front door, I bolted at full speed. It was hasty, but I had to do something. I didn't think Father would catch on to my deception so quickly. After Only clearing one block, I looked behind my shoulder and saw Father chasing after me. All of my hope collapsed then and there, and I lost all of the fight in me. I stopped running and put my head down in defeat. Sumaya came in the car minutes later, and they both took me home. The plan failed. I was going to Morocco. The journey to Morocco was the most horrendous travel experience I've ever had. It was just me, Sumaya, and 4-year-old Jazz. Jazz kept screaming and vomiting on the plane. Sumaya was in a sour mood, and I was completely miserable. I thought my whole life was all over. I had nothing to look forward to in the future. I wanted to die. Once I got there, I felt like all of the life in me had drained out. I was so defeated, I couldn't help but cry all the time, even in front of Sumaya's relatives. Khadija didn't understand why I was so upset, and she got offended that I was crying on the first day at her house. It was a complete disaster. I kept dreaming of home. I thought of the prospect of being able to return home, and a small hope sparked in me. I kept emailing my mother frequently, telling her how much I hated being there and how much I cried all the time. I told her that if she would give me one more chance and enable me to come home, I will try harder to lead a better life and become a person she could be proud of. After a week of doing this, my mother gave in and flew to Morocco to take me home. I won. I was going home. When I returned to the U.S., I felt so relieved that I forgot about my troubles for a few days and relaxed. It was good to be back home. This is where my fight is, right here in the U.S. and nowhere else. The sense of elation I felt soon wore off. My lonely life as a social outcast resumed. I continued going on my usual long walks every day, feeling angry and hateful towards the world. During Mother's Week, I would walk to the mall and sit on the balcony overlooking the food court next to the AMC theaters. There I would see all of the young couples lining up to see a movie, and I boiled with hatred. Oh my goodness, boiled with hatred. During Father's Week, I walked to the Calabasas Commons nearby, and sometimes I rode my bicycle. I also walked up the hill near my father's house to the overlook. I spent a lot of time up there contemplating about my life and fantasizing about becoming powerful enough to punish everyone I hate. Oh my goodness. On one dreadful day when I was riding my bicycle near Calabasas, a group of popular teenagers in an SUV drove by and made fun of me. I suppose my appearance didn't help with that. I looked exactly like the outcast I was. I was still wearing plain polo shirts and khaki pants at the time, covered with a blue zip-up hoodie and a black baseball cap. That's not weird. It was a torturous experience, and the pain I felt from it never went away. All I wanted was to fit in with those popular kids who live such pleasurable lives, but instead I was ridiculed and reviled by them. They made me feel so inferior and undesirable. I will never forget that experience. It was burned into my memory. Oh, good. I'm almost done here. Okay. I'm done with this section anyway. My misery became harder and harder to bear, and none of my parents understood my plight. Apparently not. My father thought that all was well with me. How could he be so blind? Yeah, that's what I ask. He was so caught up in his failing work that he didn't care about how my life was turning out. I cursed him for it. My father never made any effort to prepare me for facing such a cruel world. Well, it seems like he had a lot of support when it came to his career and everything else, and so he didn't really understand the lack of support and what it would, in your life and how that would make you feel, because he's never had that experience. He never taught me how to attract girls. He never warned me that if I didn't attract girls at an early age, my life would fall into a miserable pit of despair. Again, how could he be so blind? I ask myself constantly. Well, I think his father is like a big guy, and, he's a Caucasian guy, and, it seems like he's always been successful. When you're successful and you're a big guy, I don't know if he's big, but he looked big when I saw him on a video recently. He, I didn't watch it, but I saw a little. Well, I saw a little snippet. Yeah, he seems like a totally different guy from Elliot. Different experience in life. It all came to a climax on one of the days that I walked to the Calabasas Commons. I treaded through the area with my head down, all alone. Is that how he walked? In a state of complete despair about my life, I looked around me and saw lots of young couples holding hands and groups of good-looking teenage boys and girls walking together and having fun on their Saturday night out. I saw all of those teenagers enjoying their pleasurable lives together while I was all alone. They were enjoying everything I couldn't have. I was filled with intense anguish, and I quickly ran all the way back to Father's house with tears pouring down my cheeks. Once I got home, I had a breakdown and cried for hours and hours into the night. Oh my goodness. He needs therapy, Dean.
He needs a job.
He needs therapy.
He needs a job.
He seems too overwhelmed with despair to do very much. Well, I guess he got through school.
If you get a job, then you have something to hang on to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
You can forget about your family and just try to keep the boss happy and my coworkers happy. Right? That's enough, right?
I see this part 5 is, well, this little section here is really short before he turns 18. So let me just finish it up since I'm almost at 18 here. When I woke, okay, so this is part 5, Hope and Hopelessness, age 17 to 19. When I woke up the next morning, I felt a bit calmer enough to think clearly, he's using clearly, about what just happened. I couldn't bear to have my life continue this way, so I tried to evaluate why I have had to suffer so much. I spent the whole day in calm meditation, deeply reviewing my life to see how I fell to this dark place. I concluded that I cannot just give up on having the life I want if I never try to get it. Yeah. I realized, I am just a little worried about what he means by that, that's all. I realized that I was still only 17, that's right, and that there are many possibilities for me in the future. I wanted to give myself a new chance at life despite all the odds that were against me. I wanted something to live for, something to look forward to in the future. This calm session of contemplation made me feel a lot better. I told my parents and my sister that I was willing to make a renewed effort to change. They seemed very happy with me for once. What?
You should have went to the service.
All right. Well,
Been a man.
Dean, everybody's different. He seems to have a lot of issues that he needs to face and resolve.
Oh, you go to service.
Careful. Oh, baby.
They beat that out of you.
Yeah, well, Dean, that's not right for everybody, okay? Beat that out of you. That's not what would be appropriate here.
Sure.
That seems to traumatize him. He's highly sensitive. He's hypersensitive.
Why did he?
He's unbalanced. He needs help.
Why did he commit suicide? Long ago.
He did. I mean, well,
Failed.
supposedly he did. I believe it was David, but you know, in disguise, killing the real Elliot RODGER'S. There is a picture that there are two different pictures of him. Well, I mean, there are a lot of pictures where he looks a little more Caucasian. There's one picture that looks more Chinese, and it doesn't look like the same guy. It looks like it could be the same guy, but I think that's the real Elliot RODGER'S. And the one that but then there's another Elliot RODGER'S that looks more Caucasian. He's the guy on the video, and you know, that's the disguise. That is David, and I think David killed the real Elliot RODGER'S. There were two of them. I mean, I know people would ask, why would there be two of them? You know, why would he be in disguise looking like him? Don't ask me. I have no idea. But the CIA does stuff like this all the time. I don't know why. But, you know, many times they steal some, you know, they kill somebody off and take over their identity. And, you know, but they found it, I guess the story is they found a dead body. And I'm just theorizing that, you know, David killed the real Elliot Rodgers and left his body behind, and he moved on to the next disguise, you know. All right, so let me finish this up. I realized that I was, right, okay, still only 17. I wanted to give myself a new chance at life despite all the odds that were against me. I wanted something to live for, something to look forward to in the future. Okay, I already read this. This calm session of contemplation made me feel a lot better. I told my parents and my sister that I was willing to make a renewed effort to change. They seemed very happy with me. For once in their eyes, I wasn't being negative about life. I examined myself in the mirror and decided that if I want to make a fresh start, the first thing to do would be to change my appearance. Okay. I got a haircut, and then my mother and sister took me shopping at the Fallbrook Mall for some new clothes. I knew nothing about fashion at the time, so I just chose a few new jeans. I hadn't worn jeans since I was 10 years old. For the first time in many years, I started to care about how I looked again. I spent a few more days calming myself down. I then started to feel something that has been lost to me for a long time. Hope. Without hope, I just couldn't go on any longer. I needed to feel hope. Hope for the future. Hope for a better life. Upon feeling this, I realized that perhaps it is possible for me to have the things I desire, to have a great social life again, to have a girlfriend, to have sex, to have all of the pleasures I've desperately craved for so long. It was refreshing. On the 4th of July, we went to a big party at the Limelsons. There, I had a heavy discussion with James about my revelation and goals. He seemed very glad that I had a newfound zest for life. He admitted that he was getting very worried about me from the way I was going. James was in a similar situation as I was. He was a virgin like me, never having much interaction with girls in his life. The two of us talked for hours about our troubles and our hopes for overcoming them. It was nice to have such a good friend like James on my side who could understand and relate to me. I made a new Facebook profile, which I still use to this day, in an effort to improve my social life. Having been so lost in my own world for the last 4 years, I didn't know much about these new social networking sites such as Facebook and MySpace. The last time I was interested in such things was when I made an AIM account, but no one used that anymore. Once I fired up my profile, I was able to reconnect with a few friends from Topanga Elementary. I talked to Philip over Facebook, and the two of us made plans to meet up later in the summer after not seeing each other for 2 years. I also attempted to reconnect with my old friends Charlie and John Joe, remembering all of the great experiences I had with them. I managed to speak with them on the phone a couple of times, but they didn't seem keen on meeting up, and I subsequently abandoned the effort. I had a quiet 18th birthday at a restaurant with my family. Sumaya was still in Morocco, so mother and father agreed to meet for it. It was one of the few times that I had dinner with both my mother and my father since their divorce. I received some birthday cards from relatives wishing me a great year ahead. I took a vow that day to make this new year of my life a happy one, to turn my life around and fulfill all of my desires. And so began a period of great yearning, a great chase, so to speak. Chase. The bank chase, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's what I've been doing, chasing my money all these years to no avail, being denied. The money's all in my name, but I'm denied my money, but others are given full access. Chase. JP Morgan Chase. I am a direct descendant and also genetic daughter of JP Morgan. And Chase pretends that JP Morgan is still alive and that my money is his money. It's so ridiculous. And I'm so tired of it. And it should be illegal. I know corporations are said to have a life of their own, but, you know, there's human life, and then there is artificial life, which is the corporation or robots or whatever. Human life is the most sacred and should be treated as such. It should come first, foremost, always. A corporation is not a person. I know it's an entity, but it is not a person. It is not a human person. J.P. Morgan died in the 1800s, right?
Yep.
Or no, maybe it was, no. He died later. He died at the beginning of the century. Let's see. Let's look him up really quick, and then we'll go. Where is this? Okay. What is this? Okay, here. Okay, I was, J. Oops. Where did that go? Okay. I just want to, no, I don't want to do that. I just want to bring it down a little bit. Okay. No, I don't want to go to, I just want to read. There, let's do this. Okay. John Pierpont Morgan Sr., April 17th, 1837 to March 31, 1913. Okay, so yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's one of my genetic fathers. But I have, can't really explain that to people. I have to just say I'm his descendant. I am also his descendant, direct descendant. But, yeah, so, all right, that's enough of him. I don't need to go into it about him. Yeah, he's dead. I live. All right, so a great chase, so to speak. I'm pretty sure that David wanted me to mention chase. That's what I've been doing since I could remember my money. I've been chasing it. Yeah, that's why. I mean, I used to work as a teller at Chase Manhattan Bank on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. That's where it all started. The year was it was right after I got married in 1985. I started in around November. I trained in November and started in December, something like that, around Christmas. Something like that. And left. Yeah, it's kind of painful, It was Ross who was, it's the FBI, Ross is my special agent, FBI agent, and, I guess it was a sting operation. I don't know. I guess they're investigating everybody, and he was an employee at the bank, and he stole $1,000 out of my, he took it out of my drawer, and he made sure I was watching as he did it. And I was shocked, and then they accused me, they asked me about it, and I was like, no, I saw it. I don't know. I watched as he wanted me to see him do it. And of course I didn't know who he was. He was in disguise, whatever. I didn't know him, the guy, but he made sure I watched as he took, I think it was $1,000 out of my drawer. And I was, the guy didn't fire me. The branch manager, he was promised to be able, he was going to be allowed to RAPE me, and so he didn't want to fire me. And but his assistant manager was, it was a woman with very long nails and very long hair. She had to find a way to get rid of me after that. She was so sure that I had miscounted my money. I mean, I don't know. I know, I don't think she thought I stole it or anything. I certainly didn't. When I applied to the job, I just put a reference on it that was my ex-husband's reference. I was married to my triplet brother at the time. I didn't know he was my triplet brother, my ex-husband, and put one of his references down because I just, I didn't think it really mattered. I just didn't have anybody that I could think of, and I put down his reference, and they didn't vouch for me, okay? And it was returned to them, and they were very mean. And it was a Jewish family that adored my ex-husband, and I guess the son resented our marriage and our relationship because it took my ex-husband away from him. And he was probably the one who said who denied knowing me or anything. And I mean, he knew me, but yeah, I had never worked at their store. And that was the way she got rid of me. She said that, technically, the application form is a bank document, and that was considered falsifying a bank document, and she used that to fire me. And and I believe and I guess secret money was put together, and I didn't have access to it, never did. And JP Morgan acquired Chase, and also acquired Manufacturers Hanover, where my ex-husband and I opened our joint checking account, which a vast amount of money hit when we got married in Hawaii on July 3rd, 1985. And my ex-husband claimed that it wasn't our money. He didn't want me to see the account. He became my new ATM machine, who followed me everywhere I went. He wouldn't let me go to the ATM anymore. And I just thought he was just thinking that was his new role as my husband. We had just gotten married, and I thought maybe he was just trying to please me as my new husband. And it was really strange. And I finally I finally didn't have any access to that account anymore because he made sure I didn't touch it anymore. And he later explained that the money that was showing up in that account didn't belong to us, that it was his criminal friends putting money in our account temporarily, and he was watching it. And when they were done using our account for that purpose, that he would close the account, because I wanted to close it because I wasn't using it anymore, especially when I started working at the bank, Chase Manhattan. And I said, okay. I don't know why I thought that was fine. I trusted my ex-husband. I trusted him. And I knew he knew what he was doing. I don't know why I wasn't alarmed to know that people I didn't know were using our account. for like, I mean, that's money laundering, isn't it? Like using an account that isn't yours to place money that was made in a crime. I mean, that was like drug money or something. I don't know. Anyway, I trusted that my ex-husband knew what he was doing, and he was concluding everything, and he wasn't continuing on and continuing forward, you know, and the account was never closed. And JP Morgan acquired Chase and Manufacturers Hanover. Well, Chase acquired Manufacturers Hanover Trust, which is no longer in existence. And that's where the money showed up right after I got married to Mickey. I'm sorry I said your name. I didn't mean to. And, yeah. And I don't know what they were doing at Chase Manhattan Bank, but there was a reason they wanted to get rid of me, you know. I mean, you know, obviously there was a reason why the FBI, you know, did that to my money drawer. And it was all kind of like a sting operation. I mean, that was a long time ago. We're talking like 1985, 1986, when I was a young person. And I don't know what the result of that investigation was. I mean, everybody has broken the law here, and I'm still sitting here without any access to my money after all this time. When I was 20 and I didn't know anything, didn't remember anything, the money was in my account, you know, no problem, you know. But because of other reasons, I didn't have access to it, you know, because I had a husband that wouldn't allow me access, because I mean, he actually told me about it eventually. It existed at that time because I didn't have any memory of it, but as soon as I could remember everything's wiped off the face of the earth, you know. Oh, you know, it doesn't exist. No, you don't have it, whatever. I don't know, I'm just really frustrated that I'm 57. I did not sign up for this. I didn't dream this would be my situation ever in a million years. Never. And I guess I'm just really frustrated. What can I say? I think any human being would be. Anybody would be. I mean, when was the last time you went to your bank and your account didn't exist anymore? I mean, when was the last time you went to the bank and, where's my account? I mean, you know, I mean, of course, that's a simplified way of explaining it, but it's basically the situation. Where are all my accounts? Why can't I see them? Why can the bank see them? Why can other people who get payouts from these accounts benefit from them and have access to payouts? But I don't have shit. I don't have a penny. Why is that? How can being classified, being top secret, do that to a person? First of all, are other human beings classified? Do you take away their money? You know, I mean, I just don't understand it. I just don't. I will never understand it, ever, ever, ever. And I just, please, I beg all the people who can do something about this, that are responsible for this, that have the power to do something about this, to please do whatever the hell you need to do to give me my life back. I mean, I never had a life, okay? I've been just wandering around blind my whole life, confused, used, ABUSED again and again, over and over. They were trying to kill me. They didn't think a human being could survive what I've survived. They didn't think I would exist. They made me, you know, the way it's set up with my money, I'm dead. You know, I don't exist. And here I am. Hi, I exist. Hello, my name is Claire Elizabeth Elliot. I was born on October 21st, 1965 in Mountain View, California at El Camino Hospital at 7:14 a.m. California time. in 1965. Okay, I mean, what else do I need to do? I mean, please give me my life. Please. I mean, what am I supposed? Okay, I'm trying. You know, here I am, up in the middle of the night. It's 5:40 a.m. I'm gonna have to close my eyes and get some sleep, and take care of Elizabeth, half asleep when I get up. You know, I'm doing this. I mean, I know it seems so ridiculous that I would have to read through this long, detailed manuscript to get my life and my money. I mean, a lot of people would say, "Oh, you know, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't have to do. You don't have to do that to get your money." You know. Yeah, I just need to clean and organize my house, and lose my weight. I mean, what do I need to do? Yeah. I'm reading this manuscript because I figure, you know, there's some reason why this has been stressed to me somehow, urged for me. You know, it's been, there's like it's been brought to my attention that I need to read this and live stream it. I know it just seems ridiculous, and I think it's ridiculous, but I'm doing it just in case this is the key to unlock the door to my life. I'm just in case, you know. I mean, I just Daddy, do I have to clean and organize my house? Do I have to do that? Do I have to? Do I have to clean and organize my house? Do I have to lose all my weight? Do I have to, with such little support, such few resources, such aggravation, such stress? Do I have to do? Am I being forced to do that? I mean, why? I just don't understand. All right, so we've left off. We're now at 18 years old. He has 4 more years to live, which is sad, but true. And then there's an epilogue after that, and then we're done. We are on page 60. Getting close to halfway done. Oh, that's terrible, because I only have till the end of today. I don't know. Maybe it's crazy that I'm doing this. I don't know. I just know I have tried everything that I know except for losing my weight and cleaning and organizing my house. Those are the 2 things I have not done. Done everything else. And I haven't read this manuscript to completion. So I'm doing this because Monday is July 24th. And I figure if I'm right, you know, what a shame if I don't make the deadline, right? What do I have to lose? Nothing. I have nothing to lose. Only to gain. Only a lot to gain. All right. We leave off at 18 years old. Page 60. Good morning.